Chapter 466. Li Jun agreed with Tung Ching Shan. The next morning, at the edge of the Nine-Wolf Island, Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun were standing by the lake, gazing at the vast expanse of water several dozen li in the distance. The cold wind blew, stirring up waves. The scenery here is really beautiful. Li Jun held onto Tung Ching Shan's hand and said, "Ching Shan, when we have a child, we can live here together. The blade-like Chi, little blue, white, black, and little gray will be by our side." "How nice." Tung Ching Shan lowered his head to look at Li Jun and smiled. "Teacher, teacher," a voice sounded from behind. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun turned around and saw Tung Ching Shan's third disciple, Shui Xin, running towards them. Shui Xin stared in astonishment at the woman standing beside Tung Ching Shan. She was dressed in a light blue cloak, had a smile on her face, and a pair of eyes. She naturally exuded a noble and unique aura. Li Jun was now the substitute high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. She held a high position, so her aura naturally changed. "Shui Xin, this is your teacher's wife," Tung Ching Shan said with a smile. Shui Xin was shocked. This was the first time he met his teacher's wife. Naturally, he couldn't be impolite. He hastily knelt down and kowtowed, saying, "Shui Xin greets teacher's wife." However, he thought to himself, teacher's wife is really young and looks like a fairy. I have seen many rich young ladies in Wuhan County City, but none of them can compare to teacher's wife. Yes, you and teacher are a good match. Li Jun was now the substitute high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult and an innate expert. Her aura was naturally different from the others. "Shui Xin, your teacher's wife and I have to go out for a while. I think we'll be back tonight. I will leave the Nine-Wolf Island to you. If you encounter any trouble, go find a whole Gale Eagle," Tung Ching Shan instructed. Shui Xin answered respectfully, "Yes, teacher." "Let's go." Tung Ching Shan turned to look at Li Jun. Li Jun nodded and immediately raised her head and let out a deep roar. It is very similar to the roar of the six-legged blade-like Chi. Shui Xin was shocked. At this moment, a deep and powerful roar sounded from the depths of the Nine-Wolf Island. A gigantic demonic beast, the six-legged blade-like Chi, streaked across the sky and arrived above Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun leaped up simultaneously, flying 230 zhang high and landing on the back of the six-legged blade-like Chi. "Let's go." Tung Ching Shan smiled. Li Jun let out a soft roar, telling the six-legged blade-like Chi to head south. Roar! The six-legged blade-like Chi raised its triangular head high. Its two pairs of wings shook violently, and it streaked across the sky, leaving behind a golden afterimage. It then disappeared into the southern horizon. On the way to the wilderness, Tung Ching Shan went to the city and bought a huge water tank. High up in the sky, the six-legged blade-like Chi was flying rapidly above the clouds. "The sun is really dazzling." Li Jun smiled as she looked to the east. Looking at the sun above the clouds, even if it was the morning sun, it was still dazzling. Tung Ching Shan smiled as he looked at Li Jun and then turned to look to the south. The feeling of the husband and wife riding the six-legged blade-like Chi above the nine heavens was indeed wonderful. "We have arrived at the wilderness." Tung Ching Shan looked down. The six-legged blade-like Chi had already lowered its altitude and was flying among the clouds. Through the thin clouds, Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun could see the land below. Even though they were high up in the sky, the wilderness was still boundless. "This is my first time in the wilderness," Li Jun said with a smile. "Oh, we have to take a good look this time," Tung Ching Shan teased. "Look," Tung Ching Shan pointed to the south and said, "That mountain is our target, the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain." The Steel Arms Monkey Mountain was a mountain with a height of over 1,000 zhang and a height of nearly 2,000 zhang. The top of the mountain pierced through the clouds and was surrounded by a large amount of clouds. Tung Ching Shan and the others could see it from afar. "It's quite high." Li Jun's eyes brightened. The lair of the Steel Arms Monkey is on the mountainside of the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain. Tung Ching Shan smiled and said, The mountain walls of the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain are too steep. That year, when I jumped down from the middle of the mountain, if it wasn't for the vine that was close to me on a mountain wall, and I used the reincarnation spear to wrap around the vine and slightly reduce the force, I'm afraid that I would have been severely injured. I might even have been disabled. It was that time that made Tung Ching Shan understand that jumping off a cliff was also very dangerous. Don't take such risks in the future. Li Jun hastily said, "If I didn't jump, I would have died." Tung Ching Shan smiled. As the husband and wife chatted, the six-legged blade-like Chi, which was flying at an astonishing speed, had already arrived at the side of the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain. The lair of the Steel Arms monkeys is below, about 300 to 400 zhang. Tung Ching Shan reminded. Li Jun immediately used the language of beasts to inform the six-legged blade-like Chi and dived downwards. After a while, a wave of joyful cries rose and fell. In the lair of the Steel Arms monkeys, whose bodies were covered with fiery red fur and whose arms were longer than their legs, were frolicking. The blue pupils of the Steel Arms monkeys were looking around. Some of the Steel Arms monkeys were eating wild fruits, while others were playing with small monkeys. Among the monkeys, there was a tall and big Steel Arms monkey with a tuft of silver fur on its chest, which was obviously bigger than the ordinary Steel Arms monkeys. Shrill, fearful, and angry cries suddenly engulfed the entire lair of the monkeys. Almost all of the over 1,000 Steel Arms monkeys looked up at the sky and saw an enormous and terrifying demonic beast floating above the monkeys. This demonic beast had golden scales all over its body and 6 sharp blade-like legs that were covered with barbs. Moreover, there were 2 humans, 1 male and 1 female, on this demonic beast. The group of Steel Arms monkeys all sensed that this demonic beast that suddenly appeared was not to be trifled with. However, this was their lair. For countless years, with the power of the clan, no demonic beast had ever been able to drive the Steel Arms monkeys away. "Little June, they don't welcome us at all." Tung Ching Shan smiled as he looked at the entrance of a cave. Whoosh! A monkey that was the same size as an ordinary Steel Arms monkey was covered with silver fur and had a pair of golden pupils. It stared fixedly at the 6-legged blade-like Chi and Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun who were on its back. It was this monkey king that forced me to jump off the cliff. Tung Ching Shan stood on the back of the 6-legged blade-like Chi and looked at the monkey king as if he was looking at an old friend. The monkey king beat its chest angrily and let out a sharp cry, as if it was warning Tung Ching Shan and the others. The other over 1,000 Steel Arms monkeys were all very quiet as they stared at Tung Ching Shan and the others. Tung Ching Shan laughed and leaped down from the back of the 6-legged blade-like Chi at the same time. He walked towards the monkey king. As he walked among the group of monkeys, a fishy smell wafted over. The Steel Arms monkeys stared at Tung Ching Shan. Without the monkey king's order, they didn't dare to attack without permission. The monkey king suddenly let out a shrill cry, and all the fur on its body stood up. "I was afraid of you in the past, but now..." Tung Ching Shan's body turned illusory. A blurry shadow was still in its original position, but another blurry shadow appeared beside the monkey king. It easily grabbed the fur on the monkey king's body and threw the monkey king away. The monkey king was thrown into the air and rolled. Its pair of golden pupils were still staring at Tung Ching Shan in surprise. The moment it landed, the monkey king stomped on the ground. Whoosh! The monkey king transformed into a streak of silver light and darted towards Tung Ching Shan. Too slow. Tung Ching Shan stood at his original position. When the monkey king neared him, he dodged the monkey king's fierce claw with a shocking speed. At the same time, he easily grabbed the monkey king's fur on its neck and threw the monkey king away again. With a bang, the monkey king smashed into the mountain wall at the side, creating a hole. Immediately, the whole group of monkeys, including the tall and big Steel Arms monkeys, cried out angrily. For a moment, over 1,000 Steel Arms monkeys, including the tall and big Steel Arms monkeys, went crazy and charged towards Tung Ching Shan. A sharp and angry cry suddenly sounded. The angry steel arms monkeys suddenly stopped and turned their heads to look in the direction of the mountain wall. A shadow walked out from the hole in the mountain wall. It was the golden-eyed Monkey King. The golden-eyed Monkey King looked at Tung Shan from afar and let out a cry. Big brother Tung, it admitted defeat to you. It hopes that you can spare the monkeys. Li Jun also leaped and landed beside Tung Shan. Ask it if it is willing to leave with me. Tung Shan said. Li Jun turned her head and called out to the golden-eyed Monkey King. Ah. It was obvious that the sounds made by the human in front of them caused the steel arms monkeys to jump in fright. The golden-eyed Monkey King was also shocked, and then it started to dance and dance happily, also making sounds. Li Jun and the golden-eyed Monkey King conversed. After a while, how is it? Tung Shan looked at Li Jun, but Li Jun shook her head helplessly. The Monkey King is not willing. It doesn't want to leave the monkeys. Not willing? Tung Shan moved and appeared on the back of the six-legged blade-like Chi. He took down the water tank that he bought on the way. The water tank was completely black and was 1 zhang long and 5 zhang tall. Carrying the large water tank, Tung Shan walked to Li Jun's side with one step. Let's go in, Tung Shan said. Yes. Li Jun followed Tung Shan, and the two entered the mountain gate at the side of the mountain wall. The golden-eyed Monkey King was originally confused as to why the two humans would let it go so easily. When it saw Tung Shan and Li Jun entering the mountain gate, it was instantly shocked. That was the lifeblood of the monkeys. The golden-eyed Monkey King quickly dashed into the mountain gate. Outside the mountain gate, the thousands of steel arms monkeys stared at the mountain gate, not knowing what to do. The six-legged blade-like Chi lay lazily in the monkey's nest. It didn't care about the thousands of steel arms monkeys around it. Having been here once, it was naturally familiar with the route. The smell of alcohol is so strong. Li Jun walked in the passageway and smelled the smell of alcohol. Her face turned red. We're here. Tung Shan and Li Jun had already walked to the center of the mountain. In the middle of the gloomy mountain, there was a square-shaped stone pit. The stone pit was filled with a light red liquid, and a strong smell of alcohol emanated from it. Shan, this group of monkeys only have so much alcohol. Are we being too ruthless? Li Jun looked at the stone pit and then looked at the frighteningly large water tank on Tung Shan's back. The water tank was 1 zhang long, 5 zhang wide, and 5 zhang tall. A panic cry sounded. The golden-eyed Monkey King had already dashed into the mountain. He lowered his head and looked at the stone pit, then looked at Tung Shan. He hastily lifted a stone wine jar and handed it to Tung Shan fawningly. Tung Shan smiled and lifted the large water tank on his back. Seeing the large water tank that Tung Shan was carrying, the golden-eyed Monkey King's eyes turned purple. At the same time, it stared pitifully at Tung Shan and handed the stone wine jar to Tung Shan. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 467. This Monkey King is too interesting. Li Jun couldn't help but laugh when she saw the golden-eyed Monkey King's pitiful expression. He's too smart. Tung Shan smiled as he looked at the golden-eyed Monkey King. He knew that I was going to use this water tank to store the wine, so he even brought the wine jar to me. How much does 1 jar of wine cost? Li Jun's eyes brightened as she said, Shan, this Monkey King values the scarlet fruit wine so much. Maybe it will go with us for the sake of the scarlet fruit wine. As she spoke, Li Jun emitted sounds of conversation with the golden-eyed Monkey King. Actually, to Tung Shan, it didn't matter if the golden-eyed Monkey King surrendered or not. After all, it was extremely difficult for a golden Dan innate demonic beast to break through to the emptiness realm. The divine bird, Blue Luan, was only 1 step away from breaking through. Moreover, Blue Luan was extremely talented, so it was able to break through. The six-legged blade-like Chi was also only 1 step away from breaking through. As for the golden-eyed Monkey King, although it was powerful, It was still lacking compared to the six-legged blade-like Chi and Blue one. Ah. The golden-eyed Monkey King was so anxious that it was about to cry. Qing Shan, Li Jun said helplessly. This Monkey King refused to go with us no matter what. It said that if it wasn't with the tribe of monkeys would be in danger. It also said that the scarlet fruit wine is very important to the newborn steel arms monkeys. It begged us not to take the scarlet fruit wine away. It also said that our big boxes are too big. Tung Qingshan thought for a while and said his ultimate goal, ask it about the secret recipe of the scarlet fruit wine. Li Jun looked at the golden-eyed Monkey King. The golden-eyed Monkey King's intelligence was not lower than that of humans. It pondered and hesitated. Tung Qingshan frowned and was about to prepare the wine. The golden-eyed Monkey King became anxious and hastily waved its hands. Qingshan had agreed. Li Jun said in surprise. At this moment, the golden-eyed Monkey King turned around and fiddled with bottles and jars in the belly of the mountain. He brought over a stone basin. There were all sorts of wild fruits in the stone basin, and there was even a vermilion fruit. The golden-eyed Monkey King, Tung Qingshan, and Li Jun cried out. After that, the golden-eyed Monkey King took out all sorts of wild fruits and placed them on the ground. It then placed an empty stone basin on the ground and placed all sorts of wild fruits and a vermilion fruit according to the ratio. Voila! The golden-eyed Monkey King picked up a water jar and poured a large amount of water into the stone basin. At the same time, he called out to Li Jun. Qingshan, the Monkey King said that we must use the spring water of the steeled arms Monkey Mountain. Chi. Then he poured some of the green juice from a small bottle into it. Under the careful explanation of the Monkey King, Tung Qingshan finally understood the secret recipe and process of brewing the scarlet fruit wine. It was far more complicated than Tung Qingshan had expected. The ratio doesn't seem to be too particular. It's fine as long as it's about right. Tung Qingshan carefully noted down how to obtain the various ingredients. The golden-eyed Monkey King even personally led Tung Qingshan and the others to look for the spring water. The Monkey King also led them personally and gave them pointers one by one. In the end, there were only 3 types of wild fruits that Tung Qingshan and Li Jun didn't know. They could only remember where they grew and what they looked like. In order to understand the secret recipe of the scarlet fruit wine, Tung Qingshan and Li Jun stayed in the steeled arms Monkey Mountain for a total of 6 hours. In the belly of the mountain, Tung Qingshan was carrying a stone basin and scooping up the scarlet fruit wine from the stone pit and pouring it into the water tank. The golden-eyed Monkey King was so anxious that he scratched his ears and cheeks, but he could only watch obediently at the side. Qingshan, this Monkey King is afraid that we will take all the scarlet fruit wine. Li Jun smiled and said, this scarlet fruit wine was accumulated by the monkeys over countless years. Tung Qingshan looked at Li Jun and said, since it is of great use to the monkeys, we can't take all the scarlet fruit wine. Let's leave 20%. 20% of the scarlet fruit wine in the stone pit should be enough for the monkeys to use. 20%? Tung Qingshan took 80% in one go. Voila! The stone basin filled with scarlet fruit wine was poured into the water tank. Basin after basin, again and again, he filled it up. The amount of scarlet fruit wine in the square-shaped stone pit became lesser and lesser. The Monkey King at the side shouted. Tung Qingshan continued to pour the scarlet fruit wine. After a while, Tung Qingshan waved his hand, and an aqua blue light swept up the scarlet fruit wine in the stone pit, allowing Tung Qingshan to see the bottom of the stone pit. This scene caused the Monkey King at the side to turn pale with fright, but soon after, the aqua blue light dissipated, and the scarlet fruit wine returned to the pit. There's only about 20% of the scarlet fruit wine left. Tung Qingshan looked at the large water tank beside him. Such a large water tank was already more than half filled. It's almost done, right? Li Jun felt somewhat embarrassed. The Monkey King had been looking at them pitifully from aside. Yes, it's done. Tung Qingshan covered the water tank and carried it on his back. Let's go. Tung Qingshan and Li Jun were about to walk out together. The golden-eyed Monkey King looked at the scarlet fruit wine in the square-shaped stone pit. In the past, the stone pit was more than half filled, and now it had sunk to the bottom. The golden-eyed Monkey King wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Fortunately, the two humans had left 20% for it. Li Jun, who was leaving, turned her head and bade farewell to the golden-eyed Monkey King. She meant, "Monkey King, we are leaving. Thank you for your help this time. We will visit you often in the future." "Yeah." The Monkey King glared. "Visit it often?" Yeah. The Monkey King stared at the square-shaped stone pit. It was already thinking, where in the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain would be suitable to hide the scarlet fruit wine. It must not be discovered by humans again. The scarlet fruit wine had been accumulated by the monkeys for many generations. Today, more than 80% of the scarlet fruit wine had been taken away. Under the gaze of over 1,000 Steel Arms monkeys, Tung Shan carried the enormous water tank filled with the scarlet fruit wine and mounted the six-legged blade-like Chi with Li Jun Fu. The six-legged blade-like Chi flapped its wings and soared into the sky, leaving the Steel Arms Monkey Mountain. Yeah. The Steel Arms Monkey Mountain immediately rang with cries. When the six-legged blade-like Chi flew from the desolate land to the Nine-Wolf Island, it was already afternoon. Shui Xian was on the island, looking up at the six-legged blade-like Chi diving down. Whoosh! Whoosh! Tung Shan and Li Jun leaped down from the six-legged blade-like Chi's back and landed gently on the ground. "Teacher," Shui Xian hastily greeted, "there is so much scarlet fruit wine. However, it will be very difficult to brew scarlet fruit wine in the future. I have to use it sparingly." Tung Shan thought to himself. However, his personal disciple would definitely have the chance to drink the scarlet fruit wine. "Shui Xian, follow me." Tung Shan carried the enormous water tank on his back and walked towards the residence, with Li Jun Shui Xian immediately followed behind. "Shui Xian, have you had lunch?" Li Jun asked with a smile. "Not yet, teacher's wife," Shui Xian answered. Sigh. Li Jun looked around and said, "The environment of the Nine-Wolf Island is good, but there is no food here. We have to buy food outside. It is quite troublesome." Li Jun had only stayed for one day, but she had already noticed the inconveniences of the Nine-Wolf Island. "Little Jun, do you have a solution?" Tung Shan looked at her with a smile. Li Jun smiled and nodded. "Of course. This time, I came to the Nine-Wolf Island to stay here for a long time. However, I am now the substitute high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult. There are many things that I need to take care of. Therefore, I will dispatch 100 personal guards here. They will be in charge of washing and cooking. Moreover, it will be easier for me to convey my orders to the outside world." "Personal guards?" Tung Shan was stunned. "That's 100 beautiful women." Li Jun giggled as she looked at Li Jun. 100 women? Tung Shan rubbed his nose. In the land of the 9 prefectures, a wife's maidservant would normally become her husband's bed-warming maidservant. Those personal guards were equivalent to maidservants. "Are you itching?" Li Jun smiled as she looked at Tung Shan and whispered, "You are really..." Tung Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Shui Xian is still behind. Li Jun had lived in the land of the 9 prefectures since she was young. She didn't mind if a man had a few women. After all, everyone was like this. However, Tung Shan had a different mindset. He wasn't used to this. "Shui Xian, follow me." Tung Shan prepared to let his disciples drink the scarlet fruit wine. 2 days after Shui Xian drank the scarlet fruit wine, Tang Shou and Yang Dong, who came to the Nine-Wolf Island, also drank the scarlet fruit wine. With the help of the scarlet fruit wine, Shui Xian's strength increased by 6,000 jin. As for the second disciple, Yang Dong, his strength only increased by 2,000 jin. Tang Shou was still the strongest. After drinking the scarlet fruit wine, his strength increased by nearly 10,000 jin. His strength was very close to that of Tung Shan's in the past. Actually, Tung Shan was calm when he asked his 3 disciples to drink the scarlet fruit wine one after another. However, when Li Jun's 100 personal guard arrived, Tung Shan started to have a headache. Each of the 100 personal guards was an inner strength expert. Only then could they become the personal guards of the substitute sect leader. Since they were inner strength experts, they had trained since young. At the very least, these 100 women had excellent figures. Since they were chosen as personal guards, their appearances were at least above average. On the Nine Wolf Island, the personal guards didn't wear armor. Usually, they were the clothes of the maids. With 100 beautiful women surrounding him every day, Tung Shan found it extremely inconvenient. 2 months after they retrieved the scarlet fruit wine, Tung Shan and Li Jun were currently living in the biggest mansion on the entire Nine Wolf Island. After all, they still needed to accommodate 100 maids. It wouldn't do if the mansion was too small. Lord, as Tung Shan walked in the mansion, maids could be seen everywhere. Yes. Tung Shan nodded and asked, "Where is Madam?" "Madam is in the study room," the maid reported. Tung Shan shook his head and sighed to himself. There are indeed many things to do after becoming the substitute sect leader. Little Jun's teacher, the high priestess of the Snowy Lotus cult, is very lazy. After a while, Tung Shan walked out of the study room. Li Jun, who was dressed in purple, was sitting in front of the study table. She frowned as she read the report before her. "Lord!" The shouts of the 2 maids at the door of the study room woke Li Jun up. "What are you reading? Why are you so engrossed?" Tung Shan walked over with a smile. "Shan, take a look." Li Jun handed the report to him. Tung Shan took the report and skimmed through it casually. Then, his facial expression changed as he carefully read the contents of the report. This heavenly god palace. Tung Shan was shocked as he thought to himself, "It's really ambitious." "Yes." Li Jun stood up and said, "No branch of the heavenly god palace can disobey the order of the sovereign." Hong Tian City. Among the 8 supreme sects, Xiaoyao Palace was destroyed by the heavenly god palace. Now, the heavenly god palace wants to attack Hong Tian City of Yuzhou in the northeast. Tung Shan gasped. This heavenly god palace was indeed a troublesome and ambitious organization. P.S. I have completed 2 chapters for today. From the 21st until today, Tomato had completed 4 chapters. Tomato had promised to complete 10 chapters by the end of this month. In other words, on the 26th, 27th, and 28th of February, Tomato would complete his promise by completing 6 more chapters. No matter what, he would definitely complete his promise. Chapter 468. Little Jun, the people of this world are not fools. Tung Shan frowned and said, "There are 8 supreme sects in the land of the 9 prefectures. It's normal for sects to rise and decline in a prefecture. For example, before Qinghu Island, Yangzhou was ruled by a sect called the Sword Sect. The sect that ruled the entire Yangzhou was the Sword Sect. The Sword Sect had existed for 800 years before it was destroyed by Qinghu Island. Qinghu Island has existed for over 1,000 years now. There are no eternal sections. In the history of the land of the 9 prefectures, many sects have been destroyed. Therefore, the Heavenly God Palace only destroyed Xiaoyao Palace and occupied the entire Qingzhou. The other 7 supreme sects wouldn't care too much about it. Tung Shan said solemnly, "However, if the Heavenly God Palace attacked Hong Tian City so soon, it means that they are ambitious, very ambitious. Today, they destroyed Hong Tian City. Tomorrow, it will be Snowhawk Hall and Qinghu Island. The people of this world are not fools. The other sects will definitely not watch the Heavenly God Palace grow stronger." Tung Shan looked at Li Jun and frowned. "Little Jun, how strong is the Heavenly God Palace? You have occupied Qingzhou for less than 3 months. Why didn't you rest and prepare for the attack? Do you dare to become the enemy of the world? If they were more cautious, they would have rested for 10 or 20 years after occupying Qingzhou. It wouldn't be too late to attack after the Heavenly God Palace became stronger. However, the Heavenly God Palace didn't do this." "I don't know either." Li Jun shook her head and said, "Although I am the substitute High Sovereign, I still don't know the secrets of the Heavenly God Palace. I can only feel from teacher that teacher is very confident, very confident." "Very confident?" Tung Ching Shan shook his head and smiled. Forget it. This has nothing to do with me. I don't care. Little June, Tung Ching Shan suddenly sighed. Eh. Li Jun froze and looked up at Tung Ching Shan. The Heavenly God Palace wants to go north, occupy Yuzhou in the northeast, and destroy Hong Tian City. As the substitute sect leader, I'm afraid you can't stay here any longer. Tung Ching Shan could guess it. Li Jun walked forward and gently hugged Tung Ching Shan. Then, she leaned into Tung Ching Shan's embrace and said softly, Yes, I have to return to Qingzhou and take charge of the situation. I'm afraid I won't be able to return until this war is over. Tung Ching Shan gently stroked his wife's hair. Although the husband and wife were reluctant to part with each other, the Heavenly God Palace had issued an order, and Tung Ching Shan had no other choice. On the second day of the third month, Li Jun left Nine Wolf Island with Big Black and Big White, the two fierce wind divine eagles, and headed for Qing Prefecture. On the spacious sandy ground of Qinghu Island, Tung Ching Shan held the splitting mountain axe and continuously performed the axe art. Streams of turbulent airflow surged, stirring the area within a radius of 100 zhang, with Tung Ching Shan as the center. Only a vague silhouette could be seen. The Heavenly God Palace destroyed Xiao Yao Palace and then attacked Hong Tian City. This caused Tung Ching Shan to feel pressured. He felt that the rise of the Heavenly God Palace would cause the peaceful land of the 9 prefectures to enter an era of bloodshed. When the nest is overturned, how can the eggs remain intact? Tung Ching Shan had to protect the Gui Yuan sect and the Tang clan. He even wanted to conquer a large territory in the land of the 9 prefectures to provide for the inheritance of the branch of internal martial arts. To do so, he needed to be more powerful. Emperor Yu is indeed an omnipotent expert. The 36 splitting mountain forms is indeed mysterious. Tung Ching Shan threw the splitting mountain axe in his hand. The splitting mountain axe drew an arc in the air and fell into the sand. With a poochie sound, it pierced into the sand. Every time I practice this axe art, I will recall the moves of the stone inscriptions and gain some insights. Tung Ching Shan picked up the reincarnation spear that had been stabbed into the sandy ground. However, I still used the spear. Tung Ching Shan touched the reincarnation spear as if it was an extension of his arm. The reincarnation spear was a part of his body. In both his previous and current lives, Tung Ching Shan had been immersed in the Xing Yi martial arts. The Xing Yi martial arts was a spear art. Tung Ching Shan felt more comfortable using the spear art. Pooh, pooh. The spear was like a blossoming pear flower. In Tung Ching Shan's hands, the reincarnation spear was like a swimming dragon and a huge snake. After practicing for a long time, Tung Ching Shan stopped. Standing by the lake and looking at the endless lake, Tung Ching Shan frowned and thought to himself, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. No matter what, I can't expose my identity as Tung Ching Shan. At least, I can't expose my identity before I have enough strength. A 21-year-old emptiness realm expert. If this news were to spread, it would shock the super sects like Emperor Yu's Hall and Mani Temple as much as the rise of the Heavenly God Palace. A 21-year-old emptiness realm expert was terrifying. If these super sects were afraid, what would be the result? It was easy to imagine that if they could destroy Tung Ching Shan, they would definitely destroy him. If they couldn't kill Tung Ching Shan, they would become friends with Tung Ching Shan. I can't expose my strength. Many people have seen my spear art in the past. Therefore, I can't use the spear with my current identity as Jing Yi. Tung Ching Shan frowned and said to himself, however, I have comprehended the fire elemental Tao and the metal elemental Tao. These two Taos of the power of the heavens and earth must be perfectly combined into one move. I have only comprehended the vermilion metal tiger roar. In order to control the power of the heavens and earth, he had to use it better. Soon, my earth elemental Tao will achieve a breakthrough. By then, how can I use the 3 Taos of the heavens and earth in one move without conflicting with each other? Tung Ching Shan had a headache. It seems like there is only one way. Tung Qingshan made up his mind and said to himself, I will travel the world with the identity of Jing Yi. The weapon I will use will be the axe. Emperor Yu's 36 splitting mountain forms contains the fire elemental Dao, the earth elemental Dao, and the metal elemental Dao. These three are combined into one axe art. Tung Qingshan pondered. It was very difficult to create a move, and Emperor Yu's 36 splitting mountain forms was undoubtedly the best move. Emperor Yu's Hall has never had a cultivation technique 36 splitting mountain forms for over 6,000 years. Tung Qingshan said, If I use it, no one will recognize it. Yes, there's one more thing. To be careful, I need to change the appearance of this splitting mountain axe. Tung Qingshan looked at the splitting mountain axe that was stuck in the ground not far away. The next day, Tung Qingshan took the splitting mountain axe and left the Nine-Wolf Island on the back of the Whole-Gale Eagle. He went to Nanxing County and hired a good craftsman to slightly change the appearance of the splitting mountain axe. After the change, the originally black splitting mountain axe had patterns on the handle of the splitting mountain axe. There were also patterns on the back of the axe. At first glance, the entire splitting mountain axe glowed with a faint purple light. There are countless cultivators in the world who use axes, and there are many that look similar to the splitting mountain axe. Now, even if the people of Emperor Yu's Hall saw the splitting mountain axe, they probably wouldn't be able to recognize it. From this day onwards, Tung Qingshan carried the splitting mountain axe on his back. After all, he could use the splitting mountain axe and the 36 splitting mountain forms to unleash greater strength. On the 21st of March, the Heavenly God Palace, which had just become one of the 8 supreme sects, began to mobilize its army and march northward. The majestic army charged northward. This news spread at an astonishing speed. Almost on the same day, the other 7 supreme sects of the land of the 9 prefectures, as well as sects that were slightly inferior like the Gui Yuan sect, also received this news. Everyone in the world was shocked. After the Heavenly God Palace destroyed Xiao Yao Palace, they didn't rest and recuperate. Instead, they attacked Hong Tian City. Hong Tian City was located in the bitter cold of Yuzhou. One could imagine how fierce Hong Tian City was. In the past, the king of the northeast, Hong Tian, had conquered more than half of the land of the 9 prefectures and left behind Hong Tian City. To be able to produce the king of the northeast, Hong Tian, who was only second to the omnipotent experts, showed that Hong Tian City had a very deep foundation. To attack Hong Tian City? As one of the 8 supreme sects, the Heavenly God Palace was definitely not an arrogant fool. This meant that the Heavenly God Palace was very confident and confident. This caused the other 7 supreme sects to either watch coldly, feel anxious, or panic. For example, Emperor Yu's Hall was located in the west of Qingzhou, which was occupied by the Heavenly God Palace. Naturally, Emperor Yu's Hall was also worried. As for Hong Tian City and the weaker Qinghu Island, they were even more terrified. The ordinary warriors felt their blood boiling. Many warriors even wanted to join the Heavenly God Palace. However, the supreme sects were not happy. Besides Hong Tian City, who was the most terrified, Qinghu Island was the next. Qinghu Island, on the peak of the edge of Sword Mountain. Only 2 people were on the peak of the mountain. The blind sword master was sitting cross-legged, and the island lord of Qinghu Island, Taipan. Martial ancestor, is it really that terrifying? Taipan was slightly worried. The blind sword master opened his eyes. There was no sign of life in his grayish-white eyes. His cold voice rang out, Taipan, don't think that I'm joking. If the Heavenly God Palace dares to do this, I think they have at least an 80% chance of destroying Hong Tian City. After they destroy Hong Tian City, they can only attack Yangzhou's Qinghu Island. Snowhawk Hall is surrounded by Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ying family. The blind sword master said coldly, Snowhawk Hall has an emptiness realm demonic beast. Even if the Heavenly God Palace destroys Snowhawk Hall, they will have to face Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ying family. Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ying family are not to be trifled with. Who knows what treasures the two omnipotent experts left behind for their descendants? Taipan nodded. Martial ancestor, what can we do now? Taipan was also anxious. He had long sensed the threat that the heavenly god palace posed to Qinghu Island. There is no other way. The blind sword master shook his head and said, we can only try our best. However, since the heavenly god palace is attacking Hongtian City, they won't be able to attack us for the time being. This is also an opportunity for us to control Yangzhou as an iron plate. Martial ancestor, you mean? Taipan was shocked. Destroy the Gui Yuan sect, the blind sword master said in a deep voice. Destroy the Gui Yuan sect. Taipan had long wanted to destroy the Gui Yuan sect, the only blind spot in Yangzhou. In the past, the genius of the Gui Yuan sect, Tung Qingshan, had escaped from 4 Golden Dan innate experts when he was only 18 years old. It could be said that Tung Qingshan was a genius that was not inferior to the demonic monk Xiang Fanxin in the past 1,000 years. After the battle in the Great Yin Mountain, everyone could see that Tung Qingshan was still very loyal to the Gui Yuan sect. When Tung Qingshan returned, it would be troublesome. Martial ancestor, do you have a way to destroy the emptiness realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect? Taipan asked. The blind sword master rose to his feet. If nothing unexpected happens, the emptiness realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect will die tomorrow. With this, the blind sword master transformed into a black shadow and flew southwest. Chapter 469. The shooting Sun Mountain Range was located in the southern part of Yenzhou. It covered an area of tens of li. Among the many mountains in the shooting Sun Mountain Range, there was a towering mountain that was thousands of zhang tall. The reason why this mountain was famous was that it was the base of one of the 8 supreme sects, the shooting Sun God Mountain. This mountain was called the shooting Sun God Mountain. In the boundless sky, a black beam of light flew across the 9 heavens and pierced through the clouds. Then, it dashed into the shooting Sun God Mountain, which was surrounded by clouds and mist. The peak of the shooting Sun God Mountain was already above the clouds. A magnificent palace was built at the highest point of the mountain. The sunlight shone down and reflected off the palace. Behind the palace, in a quiet forest, 2 wooden houses were built next to each other. Big brother, Blind Tai is here. He was here a few days ago. Why is he here again? 2 hunter-looking men dressed in animal skin clothing sat cross-legged on the ground. They sat opposite each other. 2 jars of wine were placed on the table in front of them. Beside the table, a bonfire was burning, and on the bonfire was roasted meat that emitted a fragrant aroma. The strangest thing was, one of the hunter-looking men had jet black hair, while the other had silver-white hair. The 2 of you seem to be having a good time. You even have the leisure to drink and eat meat. A voice resounded. The black-clothed blind man suddenly appeared at the side. Why don't I have the leisure? The silver-haired hunter reached into his pocket, grabbed the roasted meat, and took a bite. Blind Tai, tell me, what are you doing here? Of course. The blind sword master stood at the side and said, I am here to borrow the heavenly wolf. The 2 hunter-looking men immediately stopped eating and drinking. They simultaneously turned to look at the blind sword master. The black-haired hunter-looking man frowned and said, Blind Tai, who do you want to deal with? Do you want to borrow the heavenly wolf of the shooting Sun God Mountain? It was extremely difficult to tame an emptiness realm demonic beast. Emptiness realm demonic beasts were usually very arrogant and looked down on humans. Why would they submit? In the land of the 9 prefectures, some of the 8 supreme sects had emptiness realm demonic beasts. However, most of the emptiness realm demonic beasts were tamed when they were still in the Golden Dan innate realm. After a long period of time, a Golden Dan innate demonic beast would make a breakthrough and become an emptiness realm demonic beast. If this emptiness realm demonic beast cherished old times, it would probably stay in this sect. Only then would a sect have an emptiness realm demonic beast. For example, the Heavenly God Palace had many Golden Dan innate demonic beasts. They had spread their net wide, hoping that one of them would make a breakthrough. However, no matter what, the sects that possessed Emptiness Realm demonic beasts treated them as treasures. They wouldn't lend it out easily. Blind Tai, are you going to deal with Jing Yi? The other silver-haired hunter asked. Of course not. The blind sword master shook his head and said, I am here to deal with the Emptiness Realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect. Oh. The black-haired hunter grinned and said, Qinghu Island is preparing to destroy the Gui Yuan sect? That was right. Now that the land of the 9 prefectures is in chaos, the Heavenly God Palace has emerged as a new force. No one knows how strong the Heavenly God Palace is. If we want to fight, we must at least unify our territory. Tell me, are you going to lend it to me or not? The blind sword master asked directly. Blind Tai, I like your temper. The black-haired hunter grinned. Big brother? The silver-haired hunter stared at the black-haired hunter. Sure, Qinghu Island and the Shooting Sun God Mountain can be considered allies now. I will give you some face, Blind Tai. However, you know the rules. The black-haired hunter smiled as he looked at the blind sword master. Among the 8 supreme sects, there were many sects that didn't have Emptiness Realm demonic beasts. The price of asking an Emptiness Realm demonic beast to lend a hand was not low. The blind sword master wasn't stupid. He immediately bargained with the black-haired hunter and his brother. Only after the agreement was reached did the black-haired hunter summon the heavenly wolf. Awoo! The black-haired hunter raised his head and howled. In the time it took to breathe, whoosh! A beam of silver light dashed out from the forest and landed not far away from the 2 hunters. It was a handsome demonic wolf that was about 3 to 4 zhang long. The demonic wolf's fur was silvery and extremely smooth. The demonic wolf's pupils were vertical and dark gold. A sharp horn grew out of its forehead. The demonic wolves of the Shooting Sun God Mountain were respectfully called the Heavenly Wolf or the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf. It's already afternoon. The black-haired hunter looked up at the sky and said, Blind Tai, according to what we just said, the Heavenly Wolf will definitely return to the Shooting Sun God Mountain at this time tomorrow. That's enough time. The blind sword master nodded. The black-haired hunter stared at the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf and howled. The Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf howled in response. After a while, I've already told the Heavenly Wolf to hunt the Emptiness Realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect with you. When you arrive at the Gui Yuan sect in Jiangning County and find the Emptiness Realm expert, just say kill, and the Heavenly Wolf will understand. The black-haired hunter instructed, I have also told him that once the Emptiness Realm expert dies, the Heavenly Wolf will immediately return to the Shooting Sun God Mountain. All right. The blind sword master agreed. Let's go. The black-haired hunter turned to look at the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf and howled. Awoo! The Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf stared at the blind sword master with its dark gold eyes. It was obvious that the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf was waiting for the blind sword master to set off first. Whoosh! The blind sword master transformed into a beam of black light and dashed downwards. The Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf also transformed into a beam of silver light. Its speed was even faster than the blind sword master's. However, this speed was not the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf's maximum speed. On the 22nd of March, in the evening, a beam of silver light and a beam of black light advanced on a vast land at almost the same speed. They did not travel along the official road. Instead, they traveled in a straight line. Jiangning County City. The black-clothed blind sword master stared at the towering and ancient city in the distance. His grayish-white eyes flashed with a black glint as he thought to himself, it's time for the Gui Yuan sect to disappear. The Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf followed beside the blind sword master silently. Its dark golden eyes also stared at the distant Jiangning County City. Phew! The 2 beams of light shot towards the distant Jiangning County City almost simultaneously. In the martial pavilion of the Gui Yuan sect in Jiangning County City, in the quiet martial pavilion, the guardian elder was none other than Elder Wu. Elder Wu was sitting on a chair, and on the table in front of him was an unofficial history novel. However, Elder Wu himself was frowning, his right hand forming a sword as he gestured incessantly. The space around his fingers was faintly distorting and vibrating. Eh! Elder Wu suddenly stopped and lifted his head to look towards the southeast. He could clearly feel two powerful auras suddenly appearing in his domain. One of the two auras was an unparalleled dark aura. It was so powerful that it made one's heart tremble. The other aura was a silvery white glint that had gathered together. Two emptiness realm experts. Elder Wu suddenly stood up. At the same time that Elder Wu discovered the Blind Sword Master and the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf, the Blind Sword Master and the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf also discovered the only emptiness realm expert in Jiangning County City. Kill! The Blind Sword Master commanded with a deep roar. Boom! The Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf suddenly sped up. The Blind Sword Master also sped up and followed behind the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf. The Demonic Wolf and the Blind Sword Master dashed rapidly towards Elder Wu. Oh no! Well, he discovered that two powerful auras were rushing towards him at an alarming speed, especially the speed of one of the auras. Elder Wu's face instantly turned pale. Without any hesitation, Elder Wu immediately turned into a ray of light and disappeared from the martial pavilion. The silvery white aura in front is so fast. It must be a demonic beast. Moreover, it must be an emptiness realm demonic beast that is a walking beast. Elder Wu instantly deduced. The one behind is an emptiness realm expert of a human. An emptiness realm expert of a human and an emptiness realm expert of a walking beast. They must be trying to kill me. Elder Wu's speed had already increased to the maximum. At the same time, Elder Wu sent a message to Zhuge Yuanhong, who was still in the Gue Yuan sect. Yuanhong, hurry up and run. An emptiness realm expert and an emptiness realm demonic beast are chasing after me. Hurry up and run. If you don't run now, you won't be able to escape later. Elder Wu's voice resounded in the ears of Zhuge Yuanhong, who was meditating in the study room. What? Zhuge Yuanhong's face instantly turned pale. His body trembled involuntarily, and his eyes were filled with terror. Oh no! Zhuge Yuanhong didn't dare to hesitate. He didn't even have the time to instruct the other members of the Gue Yuan sect. He immediately grabbed his weapon and executed his Qing Gong, dashing out of the study room as fast as he could. While the Blind Sword Master and the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf were chasing after Elder Wu, Zhuge Yuanhong was also fleeing rapidly. The speed of an emptiness realm expert is astonishing. However, their domain is only 34 li. When the emptiness realm expert and the emptiness realm demonic beast are chasing after the martial ancestor, they definitely don't dare to relax. If the martial ancestor isn't careful, the martial ancestor might escape more than 34 li. Zhuge Yuanhong was very clear about this. He knew that the two emptiness realm experts chasing after Elder Wu wouldn't waste time to kill him unless they killed Elder Wu. Therefore, before Elder Wu died, Zhuge Yuanhong had enough time to escape. Dashing through the farmland, Zhuge Yuanhong was like a gust of wind. With a few flashes, he was already far away. How could this be? Two emptiness realm experts are chasing after the martial ancestor? It's Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong instantly deduced. Zhuge Yuanhong, who had already fled out of Jiangning County City, felt very anxious. Can the martial ancestor escape? When he estimated that he was more than 34 li away from the emptiness realm expert and the emptiness realm demonic beast, Zhuge Yuanhong immediately changed the direction of his escape. If the Gue Yuan sect was given enough time, everything would be fine. However, the appearance of the Heavenly God Palace had indeed caused chaos in the land of the 9 prefectures. So fast. Sensing the speed of the two emptiness realm experts, Elder Wu's heart was in his throat. At this moment, he was running as fast as he could. Boom! Boom! He passed through the forest, the farmland, and the river. He was as fast as lightning. However, even though he was fast, the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf was even faster. Oh no! Elder Wu turned his head and cast a glance. The silver-white Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf had already dashed through the air towards him. The shooting sun heavenly wolf had already caught up with the martial ancestor within 34 li. At this moment, the blind sword master was still 30 li away. Chapter 470. This demonic wolf is really fast, Elder Wu thought anxiously. When an ordinary human and an ordinary beast ran, the speed of a human would be slower than that of a four-legged beast. After reaching the emptiness realm, the limit of an emptiness realm expert would be slower than that of an emptiness realm expert. In terms of drilling speed, a four-legged emptiness realm demonic beast was still faster than an emptiness realm expert. Therefore, unless a human could fly, the speed of an emptiness realm expert would never be faster than that of an emptiness realm expert. This was also why Elder Wu didn't drill into the ground when he was running for his life. Chi-Chi, a silver gleam shot out from the shooting sun heavenly wolf's horn towards Elder Wu. Evil creature. Elder Wu cursed. Clang. The divine sword in his hand blocked the attack. However, because he blocked the attack, Elder Wu couldn't maintain the state of harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth. His speed decreased drastically. When he once again used the state of harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth and entered the power of the heavens and the earth, this delay shortened the distance between him and the blind sword master by 2 to 3 li. The shooting sun heavenly wolf didn't fight head-on with Elder Wu. Instead, it dodged the attacks at an astonishing speed and shot out beams of silver gleam. So troublesome. The shooting sun god mountain is actually helping that damn blind man. Elder Wu was furious. The attack of the shooting sun heavenly wolf couldn't kill Elder Wu, but it affected Elder Wu's speed. It affected Elder Wu once, twice, thrice behind him. The blind sword master maintained his fastest speed, and the distance between them continued to shorten. Damn blind man, I advise you to retreat quickly. Otherwise, even if I die, I will drag you down with me, Elder Wu said with the use of the sound transmission technique. Simultaneously, he dodged the attack of the shooting sun heavenly wolf again. The blind sword master was getting closer. You want to die with me? You are not qualified, the blind sword master said with the use of the sound transmission technique. Phew. The two emptiness realm experts and the emptiness realm demonic beast were the strongest existences in the land of the 9 prefectures. At this moment, they were charging towards the west and killing each other. The ordinary travelers and countrymen only felt their vision blur. About 300 li to the west of Jiangning County City was the Great Yin Mountain of E City, with the speed of an emptiness realm expert. When the blind sword master and Elder Wu were only 2 li away from each other, the two humans and the demonic beast had already arrived at the Great Yin Mountain. He is running towards the west. So, he is coming to the Great Yin Mountain. The blind sword master was shocked. Could it be that he and the two emptiness realm demonic beasts of the Great Yin Mountain? The blind sword master's heart was in his throat. During the battle at the Great Yin Mountain, the golden dragon turtle and the demonic dragon violet rain, which had existed since the tribal era, had appeared. The blind sword master was slightly fearful of these two demonic beasts that had lived for countless years. A human that had reached emptiness realm culmination had encountered a demonic beast that had reached emptiness realm culmination. Most likely, the demonic beast would win. My only chance of survival is here. If it's the demonic dragon violet rain and the golden dragon turtle, as long as one of us can help me, today, I will be able to live. Elder Wu traversed the forest. Occasionally, a sharp light would shoot at Elder Wu from the shooting sun heavenly wolf. The shooting sun heavenly wolf was not weaker than Elder Wu. However, the shooting sun heavenly wolf did not fight it head-on. Using its speed to hinder Elder Wu was the safest way. Oh no! Elder Wu's facial expression changed. Haha, you can't escape. The blind sword master had already caught up. Stupid blind man, the demonic dragon violet rain is in the territory of Jiangning County. It is an old friend of the Gui Yuan sect. It owes the Gui Yuan sect a favor. As Elder Wu spoke with the use of the sound transmission technique, he had already arrived above the demonic dragon violet rain's lair. Elder Wu, the blind sword master, and the shooting sun heavenly wolf all sensed that there was a vigorous and chaotic silver aura underground. They all sensed that there was a mass of vigorous, chaotic silver aura underground. This aura was much more powerful than the blind swordmaster's aura. At the same time, not far away from this terrifying aura, there was also a thick and heavy dark golden aura underground. These two auras were extremely powerful. The demonic dragon violet rain owes the Gui Yuan sect a favor? The blind swordmaster sneered. Without hesitation, the thin iron rod in his hand transformed into a black beam of light and pierced towards Elder Wu. Huh! Elder Wu shouted loudly. The godly green godly sword in his hand transformed into a blur and tried its best to attack the ordinary-looking black beam of light. Rumble, the area where Elder Wu and the blind swordmaster clashed, suddenly exploded. Under Elder Wu's intentional guidance, a violent force charged toward the surface of the earth. With a destructive force, the force blasted the surface of the mountain and created a deep and gloomy hole that led to the depths of the earth. Below the deep and gloomy hole was where the demonic dragon violet rain slept. Demonic dragon violet rain, hurry up and come out. Elder Wu had no choice but to use the sound transmission technique. You're courting death. The blind swordmaster shouted loudly. The thin iron rod in his hand instantly transformed into 9 black beams of light. The 9 rays of black light actually connected into one from the front and the back. It was a black beam of light that made people's hearts palpitate. Ah! Elder Wu roared unwillingly. Pucci! The black beam of light pierced through Elder Wu's body like a needle. Moreover, it pierced through the area between Elder Wu's eyebrows. Phew! A hole appeared between Elder Wu's eyebrows, but there was no blood. Elder Wu was dead. This old man actually wanted the demonic dragon violet rain to save him. The blind swordmaster looked at Elder Wu's corpse on the ground and humphed coldly. Roar! A deep and heart-palpitating roar sounded from the deep and gloomy hole. The entire hole trembled and large amounts of sand and gravel rolled down. At the same time, a bang sound rang out. Not far from the blind swordmaster's left, the ground split open and a huge dragon's head emerged. The dragon's huge golden eyes stared coldly at the blind swordmaster. Whoosh! The shooting sun heavenly wolf had sensed that the situation was bad and fled. Let's go. Without hesitation, the blind swordmaster flew up. The huge dragon head watched the blind swordmaster leave and then retracted its head. The sand and gravel rolled down from the ground and covered the hole. Everything returned to normal. While flying in the sky, the blind swordmaster still felt a lingering fear. As expected of the demonic dragon violet rain that fought against Emperor Yu, the blind swordmaster exclaimed, "This demonic dragon violet rain is probably one of the most powerful emptiness realm demonic beasts in the world." Actually, the moment the blind swordmaster sensed the aura of the demonic dragon violet rain, he knew he was probably no match for the demonic dragon violet rain. To deal with such a talented demonic beast that has attained emptiness realm culmination, I guess I need to reach the insightful emptiness realm. In just a few moments, the blind swordmaster had already flown to the sky above the Gui Yuan sect. The reason he returned to the Gui Yuan sect was to kill Zhuge Yuanhong. After all, Zhuge Yuanhong's talent and power of comprehension were not any lower than Guyong's. In fact, Zhuge Yuanhong was even slightly better. You escaped pretty fast. The blind swordmaster smiled calmly and said, "You can escape for now, but you can't escape forever. Without that old man's protection, let's see how long you can live." That old man escaped to the Great Yin Mountain and tried to deceive me. He said that the demonic dragon violet rain had a relationship with the Gui Yuan sect. If they had a relationship, then the demonic dragon violet rain could have protected Tung Qingshan during the battle in the Great Yin Mountain and not let Tung Qingshan run away pitifully. The blind swordmaster was in a good mood. How could he not be happy after killing the only emptiness realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect? From now on, Yangzhou belongs to Qinghu Island. The blind swordmaster didn't care about the fact that the Gui Yuan sect didn't have an emptiness realm expert. He immediately transformed into a black beam of light and flew towards the south. On the Nine Wolf Island, Tung Shan stood by the shore of the lake as the wind blew, creating thousands of waves. That should be the case. Tung Shan stood by the shore of the lake. Sometimes he meditated, and sometimes he practiced his fist art. It had been a few months since he arrived at the Nine-Wolf Island, but Tung Shan still hadn't created the last move of the earth element fist. However, he had made some progress in the water element fist. Every day, Tung Shan would look at the lake and feel the water. Occasionally, he would gain some enlightenment. Tung Shan's facial expression changed. Almost instantly, he transformed into a beam of light and dashed towards the six-legged blade-like chi roar. The six-legged blade-like chi was lying in a cave on a mound. It stared in confusion at Tung Shan, who had dashed in and leaped onto its back. Why is the blind sword master passing by? Tung Shan could clearly sense the aura of the blind sword master in the sky. Because he sensed the blind sword master's arrival, Tung Shan immediately went to the six-legged blade-like chi. This Jing, he still has a backup plan. The blind sword master flew above the Nine-Wolf Island and looked down. There's a very strong aura beside him. It is stronger than most of the Golden Dan innate demonic beasts I have seen. It should be an extremely powerful demonic beast. The aura of the six-legged blade-like chi was indeed very strong. As soon as he sensed my arrival, he ran to the demonic beast. It seems like he is confident that he can survive against me with the help of that demonic beast. The blind sword master instantly deduced a few points. Actually, the blind sword master had intentionally passed by the Nine-Wolf Island on his way back to Qinghu Island to see what kind of trump card Jing he had. When Tung Shan sensed that the blind sword master had left, he heaved a sigh of relief. Actually, Tung Shan was very confident. He had reached the emptiness realm. Even if the blind sword master found a helper, it would be difficult for the six-legged blade-like chi to kill him. Firstly, the six-legged blade-like chi's flying speed was very fast. It was just slightly slower than the blue one. Once Tung Shan used the power of the heavens and earth, the six-legged blade-like chi's flying speed would be comparable to that of an emptiness realm culmination expert. Moreover, Tung Shan valued the six-legged blade-like chi's ability to drill into the ground instead of flying. The six-legged blade-like chi lived underground all year round. Therefore, it was best at drilling into the ground. Once Tung Shan used the power of the heavens and earth, the six-legged blade-like chi's drilling speed could be imagined. On the morning of March 24th, during the rainy season of spring, the rain never stopped. Raindrops filled the sky and smashed onto the endless surface of the Nine-Wolf Lake. For a moment, the heavens and the earth were covered by a curtain of water. Tung Shan sat under the pavilion. Occasionally, a few raindrops would fall on his body and face due to the wind, making him feel extremely comfortable. Tung Shan was slightly surprised. He turned his head and looked toward the east. Teacher has come to the Nine-Wolf Lake? The heavy rain was endless. On the vast surface of the Nine-Wolf Lake, a figure stepped on the surface of the lake and dashed toward the Nine-Wolf Lake. I waited at the station in Nanxing County for a day. I didn't expect to receive news that Elder Wu hasn't returned to the sect. To be cautious, Zhuge Yuanhong didn't put up the innate true origin. His entire body was drenched, and his face was pale. A hint of sorrow could be seen in his eyes. Elder Wu, Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong's heart was filled with hatred. After dashing on the surface of the water for a long time, Zhuge Yuanhong finally saw the vague island in the center of the lake through the curtain of rain, the Nine-Wolf Island. Chapter 471. Qingshan is on the Nine-Wolf Island. Although Qingshan changed his name to Jing Yi and caused havoc in Qingshan Island, the blind sword master wouldn't go so far as to kill Qingshan just because of this. Moreover, the other sects wouldn't lend him emptiness realm demonic beasts to help the blind sword master kill Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong had already predicted this. He believed that the possibility of Tung Qingshan dying was less than 10%. However, he was still worried. If something bad happens to Qing Shan, I will be a sinner. Zhuge Yuanhong's body trembled slightly. After all, Tang Qingshan's actions were all taught by his teacher. Like a gust of wind, Zhuge Yuanhong stepped on the surface of the lake and landed on the shore of the Nine-Wolf Island with a leap. Teacher, a voice rang in Zhuge Yuanhong's ears. Zhuge Yuanhong couldn't help but feel happy. He looked carefully and saw a figure standing in the rain. When the rain approached the figure, it moved away. When Zhuge Yuanhong saw who it was, he heaved a sigh of relief. Teacher, what happened to you? Tung Qingshan was shocked when he saw Zhuge Yuanhong, who was drenched and had a pale face. His teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, would remain calm even if a mountain collapsed in front of him. What had happened to make his teacher look so miserable? I'm fine, but Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes were filled with sorrow as he said, Elder Wu is probably dead. What? Tung Qingshan was shocked. Elder Wu is dead? Elder Wu was the emptiness realm expert who oversaw the Gui Yuan sect. Now that his teacher said that Elder Wu was dead and his teacher came here in a miserable state, what would happen to the Gui Yuan sect? Teacher, what happened? What happened? Tung Qingshan was slightly panic-stricken. How is the Gui Yuan sect now? Is everything all right? Who could it be? Is it Qinghu Island? Tung Qingshan asked a lot of questions in a row. It was obvious that he was panicking. He couldn't help but panic because the Tang clan was in Jiangning County City. His parents, sister, and many other relatives were there. Tung Qingshan might feel sorry for Elder Wu's death, but clearly, in his heart, his parents and clan were more important. The Gui Yuan sect is fine for now. Zhuge Yuanhong sighed. Tung Qingshan secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Master, what happened? Just the day before yesterday, Zhuge Yuanhong said in a deep voice. At the time of dusk, Elder Wu and I were both in the sect. However, suddenly, Elder Wu transmitted a message to me. He said that a human emptiness realm expert and a beast emptiness realm expert had joined hands to kill him. You still wanting to escape? If I'm late, I won't be able to escape. Tung Qingshan's expression changed. It was very difficult for an emptiness realm expert to kill an emptiness realm expert. Between two emptiness realm experts, one could use 100% of the power of the heavens and the earth, while the other could only use 20% of the power of the heavens and the earth. The difference was huge. However, in terms of speed, once one achieved the harmonization of the body with the heavens and the earth, the speed of an emptiness realm culmination expert and a novice emptiness realm expert were almost the same. Therefore, without the help of an emptiness realm demonic beast, it would be very difficult for an emptiness realm expert to kill another emptiness realm expert. It's Qinghu Island? Tung Qingshan immediately thought. Yes. Apart from them, I can't think of any other sect that would pay such a high price to kill an emptiness realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong said in a deep voice. Qinghu Island. Tung Qingshan knitted his eyebrows, and a murderous aura could be faintly felt. Qingshan, don't be stupid, Zhuge Yuanhong said. Master, don't worry. Tung Qingshan took a deep breath and said, If I had the ability, I would have flattened Qinghu Island a long time ago. During the battle in the Great Yin Mountain, Tung Qingshan hated Qinghu Island for killing his uncle, crippling his father, his brothers in the Black Armored Corps, and Lady Qing. Qinghu Island even chased after him all over the world. Naturally, Tung Qingshan hated Qinghu Island to the core. Qinghu Island also believed that Tung Qingshan was the reason why they lost 13 innate experts. Qinghu Island naturally wanted to kill Tung Qingshan as well. The relationship between Tung Qingshan and Qinghu Island was a dead knot that couldn't be untied. Yes, that's good. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded and said, With your talent, as long as you have enough time, it won't be a problem for you to destroy Qinghu Island. By the way, Master, the night before yesterday, the Blind Sword Master passed by the Nine-Wolf Island. Tung Qingshan said with a start. The Blind Sword Master must have chased after Elder Wu and returned to Qinghu Island at that time. He didn't attack you, Qingshan? Zhuge Yuanhong was shocked. No. Tung Qingshan shook his head and said, At that time, I only sensed him. I didn't sense any emptiness realm demonic beasts. Just as I expected, Zhuge Yuanhong nodded and said, Qingshan, let's go inside and talk. Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong. One was an emptiness realm expert, while the other was the sovereign of the Gue Yuan sect. Yet they talked for a long time in the rain. It was obvious that Elder Wu's death was a huge blow to them. The two sat opposite each other under the pavilion. Outside the pavilion, it was raining heavily. I was careless this time. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and said, I was careless. I didn't expect the blind sword master to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast and kill Elder Wu. Zhuge Yuanhong knew very well that if the blind sword master and the emptiness realm demonic beast worked together, Elder Wu's chances of survival would be less than 10%. Moreover, Zhuge Yuanhong had also learned from the intelligence agents of the Gue Yuan sect that Elder Wu didn't return to the Gue Yuan sect. There was a 99% chance that Elder Wu was already dead. Is it that easy to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast? Tung Qingshan frowned. No. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and said, before the rise of the heavenly god palace, the relationship between the shooting sun god mountain and Qinghu Island wasn't good. After all, they were two neighboring sections. Both sects were wary of each other. Moreover, the relationship between the shooting sun god mountain and Qinghu Island had lasted for thousands of years. Subconsciously, I never thought that the blind sword master could borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast. In the past few months, I have been focused on comprehending the Tao. I forgot that the shooting Sun God Mountain and Qinghu Island were going to form an alliance under the threat of the heavenly God Palace. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and sighed. Habitual thinking was harmful. If I had thought of this earlier, I would have asked Qingshan to stay in the Gue Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled bitterly and said, even if the blind sword master came, I could still pretend that you are an old friend of Elder Wu. Even if the blind sword master cooperated with the emptiness realm demonic beast, he could only kill one of them. The other one would bring disaster to Qinghu Island. Therefore, he would definitely be able to protect Elder Wu. Teacher, even a wise man makes mistakes sometimes. You don't have to feel guilty. We have to look forward. Tang Qingshan advised, what I am most worried about now is that the blind sword master will send an army to destroy the Gue Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong's facial expression changed slightly as he said, this is very possible. Even if I am here, Tung Qingshan shook his head and smiled bitterly. If the blind sword master comes with an emptiness realm demonic beast, I won't be able to stop him. Qingshan, Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head and said, don't worry. Firstly, the blind sword master won't borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast just to destroy the Gue Yuan sect, which doesn't have an emptiness realm expert. Secondly, he probably won't be able to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast, even if he wanted to. Oh, Tung Qingshan was shocked. Qingshan, it is very difficult to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast. Zhuge Yuanhong explained, in this world, only the Snowhawk Hall, the shooting sun god mountain, and the other sects have emptiness realm demonic beasts. You must know that if you want to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast to kill an enemy, you must have a good relationship with the sect. Secondly, the emptiness realm demonic beast must have no background. Otherwise, the sect that has some background will be in trouble if the emptiness realm demonic beast borrows the emptiness realm demonic beast. Thirdly, you must be more powerful than the person you want to kill. The emptiness realm demonic beast will only help you restrain the enemy, but it won't attack. Fourthly, you must pay a great price. Take the shooting sun god mountain as an example. It is risky for them to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast. If they don't kill the emptiness realm expert, the shooting sun god mountain will have another emptiness realm expert as their enemy. Therefore, they must pay a great price to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast. Tung Qingshan suddenly understood. With these four conditions, it would be extremely difficult for an emptiness realm expert to kill an emptiness realm expert. Qingshan, your current identity is Jing Yi. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, In the past, there was no trace of Jing Yi in the land of the 9 prefectures. With such a mysterious identity, even if the blind sword master wants to kill you, the shooting sun god mountain won't agree to borrow an emptiness realm demonic beast and provoke a mysterious enemy. Tung Qingshan nodded. As long as there is no emptiness realm demonic beast, Qingshan, you should have no problem killing the blind sword master, right? Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Tung Qingshan. Yes. Tung Qingshan nodded. However, Qingshan, although it is almost impossible for the blind sword master to bring an emptiness realm demonic beast to kill you. However, be careful. We should leave the 9 Wolf Island. Zhuge Yuanhong said solemnly. The blind sword master knows that Qingshan is on the 9 Wolf Island. Asterisk, 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 without hesitation. Tung Qingshan sent his 3rd disciple, Shui Xian, to look for his 2 martial brothers in the heavy rain. Then, Tung Qingshan left the 9 Wolf Island with Zhuge Yuanhong, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, and the whole Gale Eagle. In East City, Jiangning County, Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong were in a very quiet mansion. Qingshan, from today onwards, you will live in East City temporarily. East City is very close to Jiangning County City. If anything happens, we could take care of each other. The blind sword master might still think that you are on the 9 Wolf Island. Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Tung Qingshan. Suddenly, a complicated expression appeared on his face as he said, Qingshan, the martial ancestor is dead. You must live. Tung Qingshan froze slightly when his teacher stared at him. You must live. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes were sharp as he said, even if the Gui Yuan sect is destroyed temporarily, you must live. As long as you are alive, the Gui Yuan sect can prosper again. Tung Qingshan felt the burden on his shoulders. Yes, teacher. Tung Qingshan nodded. Yangzhou, Qinghu Island. On the morning of the 28th of March, on the edge of Sword Mountain, Guyong, who was dressed in a gray sackcloth cloak, and Taipan, who was dressed in a luxurious fur coat, stood respectfully beside a black-clothed blind man. Martial ancestor, the order has been passed down. The troops stationed at the borders of Jiangning County should receive the news at noon today. They will immediately march towards Jiangning County City from 3 directions. Taipan said respectfully. Yes, the blind sword master said indifferently. I don't care about the insignificant Gui Yuan sect. However, that Zhuge Yuanhong escaped when I killed Elder Wu. I am worried that when our army attacks the Gui Yuan sect, this Zhuge Yuanhong will kill his way to Qinghu Island. This Zhuge Yuanhong is only 1 step away from the emptiness realm. He might break through at any time. We cannot be careless. Taipan, the blind sword master ordered, pass down my order. Within the sect, all the innate experts, elite disciples, and young disciples are to be dismissed temporarily. Tell them to wander around the counties and come back after 10 days. These people were the future of Qinghu Island. Yes, martial ancestor. Taipan said respectfully. Just leave some elders to guard Qinghu Island. The blind sword master ordered. Taipan, you should go out and relax. Guyong, accompany me to Jiangning County. Lead the 3 armies and flatten the Gui Yuan sect. Yes, martial ancestor. Yes, martial ancestor. The island lord of Qinghu Island, Taipan, and Guyong, who was most likely to step into the emptiness realm, responded respectfully. Chapter 472. On the evening of the 28th of March, Jiangning County, East City. Teacher, have you found it? Tung Qingshan showed a rare expression of joy. Yes. Zhuge Yuanhong heaved a sigh of relief as he gazed at the blood-red, setting sun in the west. After searching for 3 to 4 days, I finally found the location of the explosion on the 22nd of March in Jiangning County City. Someone in the village at the foot of the Great Yin Mountain said that he heard the explosion in a terrifying roar. I sent people to the Great Yin Mountain and found the body of the martial ancestor. It's a miracle that the martial ancestor's body wasn't eaten by the wild beasts after staying in the mountain for 3 to 4 days. It's a blessing from the heavens. Zhuge Yuanhong sighed emotionally. However, Zhuge Yuanhong didn't know. That day, the demonic dragon Violet Rain appeared there and roared angrily, leaving behind a strong demonic dragon aura. As long as the demonic dragon aura didn't dissipate, ordinary beasts wouldn't dare to approach that place. Because of this, Elder Wu's body was preserved. Elder Wu's funeral? Tung Qingshan looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. The funeral was held in a low-key manner. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled bitterly and said, "The martial ancestor has no relatives or descendants." Sigh. The martial ancestor's only great-grandson lost his life because he fought over a woman. The death of his great-grandson was a great blow to the martial ancestor. From then on, the martial ancestor was always engrossed in all kinds of unofficial history novels. However, it's strange that the martial ancestor, who had reached the Golden Dan innate realm, actually broke through and reached the emptiness realm while reading unofficial history novels. However, even though the martial ancestor reached the emptiness realm, he still kept a low profile and stayed in the martial pavilion. When I reached the innate realm, within the sect, I was treated as a genius. Then, the martial ancestor personally taught me. Although he was my martial ancestor, he was almost like my teacher. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes were filled with tears. Elder Wu played a huge part in Zhuge Yuanhong's achievements. Teacher. Tung Qingshan sighed inwardly. Suddenly, pong, pong, pong. A hurried knocking sound suddenly rang out, breaking the calm atmosphere. The knocking sound was like a heavy hammer pounding on one's heart. Huh? Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong's expressions changed slightly. Usually, servants would not dare to knock on the door like this. Sect master, hurry up and open the door, hurry up and open the door. An anxious shout came from outside. I'll get the door. Tung Qingshan immediately ran to the courtyard door and pulled open the latch. He saw a man dressed in ordinary clothes, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, rushing into the courtyard without even bowing to Tung Qingshan. What happened? Zhuge Yuanhong stood up. Grandmaster, the man said hurriedly. Within the sect, I just received news that the Qinghu Islands troop station in the south, north, and west of Jiangning County have all set off towards Jiangning County. Boom! Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Qingshan felt as if their minds were struck by thunder and lightning. They were both shocked. Although Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong had expected this, when the truth happened, Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong couldn't accept it. This was because if Qinghu Island started a war, the Gue Yuan sect might be finished. Once it was finished, the 1,000-year foundation would be ruined. In the end, they still came. Zhuge Yuanhong calmed down, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. You can leave first. Zhuge Yuanhong waved his hand. Although the man was anxious, he still left respectfully. Only Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Qingshan were left in the courtyard. Teacher. Tung Qingshan stared at Zhuge Yuanhong. The blind sword master really wants to flatten the Gue Yuan sect in one go. Zhuge Yuanhong instantly made up his mind. He stared at Tung Qingshan and said, Qingshan, when the time comes, you can show yourself as a friend of the Gue Yuan sect. Let's see if you can scare the blind sword master. As for me, I have to go back now. Teacher, you can't go back. Tung Qingshan said solemnly. It's useless even if you go back. If the Gue Yuan sect is breached, the blind sword master will definitely kill you. That would be equivalent to sending you to your death. If you don't go back, you will definitely reach the emptiness realm in the future. Tung Qingshan didn't think that his teacher couldn't see through this. No. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head gently. He stared at Tung Qingshan and said, Qingshan, I am the sovereign of the Gue Yuan sect. The Gue Yuan sect is facing such a great danger. The others can leave, but I can't. When the army of Qinghu Island came, the fearless disciples of the Gue Yuan sect suddenly realized that their sovereign had fled out of fear. He is no longer in Jiangning County City. Do you think the disciples of the Gue Yuan sect still have the heart to kill? I'm afraid they will be very disappointed. Zhuge Yuanhong said seriously. With this, Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Tung Qingshan and said, "Moreover, the future of the Guai Yuan sect is not me, Zhuge Yuanhong. It is you, Tung Qingshan." No, no. Tung Qingshan frowned and thought quickly. "Don't stop me." Zhuge Yuanhong immediately walked outside. "Teacher." Tung Qingshan's figure flashed and stood in front of Zhuge Yuanhong. He stared at Zhuge Yuanhong and said solemnly, "The attack of Qinghu Island is a disaster for the Guai Yuan sect. However, we still have a chance of survival. The blind sword master might take my existence into consideration. Moreover, we still have another hope." "Another hope?" Zhuge Yuanhong froze. "Yes, the Heavenly God Palace." Tung Qingshan answered. "The Heavenly God Palace?" Zhuge Yuanhong frowned and said, "Qingshan, you want—" Zhuge Yuanhong knew that Tung Qingshan was related to the Heavenly God Palace. "It's evening now. I will go to Qingzhou now." Tung Qingshan hastily said, "If the Heavenly God Palace helps us, the Guai Yuan sect will definitely be able to escape this disaster." "Yes, teacher, I will go first." Time was tight. Tung Qingshan immediately left on the six-legged blade-like Qi whoosh. The six-legged blade-like Qi instantly soared into the sky. With the six-legged blade-like Qi's speed, ordinary people would only see a blur. Yangzhou was 2,000 li away from Qingzhou. If one wanted to reach Huyue County City in Qingzhou, it would be almost 3,000 li. The sky was already dark. The six-legged blade-like Qi hovered above the clouds, its entire body enveloped in the radiance of the golden flame. With the help of Tung Qingshan, the six-legged blade-like Qi's speed was much faster than Blue One. With a terrifying speed, the six-legged blade-like Qi tore through the heavens and the earth, rushing towards Huyue County City. If Little Blue comes, Little Blue and I will be able to scare Qinghu Island so much that they won't dare to move. If the six-legged blade-like Qi breaks through and reaches the emptiness realm, it will also be able to intimidate Qinghu Island. If teacher can break through and reach the emptiness realm, we will be able to work together. With two emptiness realm experts in the Guai Yuan sect, we will be able to protect the Guai Yuan sect. Tung Qingshan stared at the endless stars in the sky, feeling extremely anxious. Everything was just an if. It would be very difficult for both the six-legged blade-like Qi and his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, to break through to the emptiness realm. They were only one step away from the earth and heaven. Many people have been stuck at this step for a very long time. Let's go down. Under Tung Qingshan's guidance, the six-legged blade-like Qi dived through the clouds. Tung Qingshan could see the boundless land, cities, and villages clearly. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Tung Qingshan could see Huyue County City. In Huyue County City, there was a luxurious mansion where the headquarters of the Snowy Lotus cult was located. This was Li Jun's residence. Li Jun sat alone in the study room, and two personal guards stood outside the study room. It seems that attacking Yuzhou and destroying Hongtian City will be very, very difficult. Li Jun looked at the report in her hands and shook her head. Whoosh! A streak of rainbow light passed through the door of the study room and landed inside. Who is it? The two personal guards at the door hastily turned their heads and saw the figure that suddenly appeared in the study room. They immediately shouted, "Quick! Quick!" The many personal guards in the mansion heard the shout and immediately rushed to the study room. When Li Jun saw the person, she was pleasantly surprised. She hastily waved her hand and ordered the personal guards, "All of you leave. Don't let anyone disturb us." Yes. The two personal guards finally saw that the person was the husband of the substitute high priestess, who had lived in the mansion before. They blushed and hastily left the study room, closing the door. "Qingshan, why did you come at this time?" Li Jun walked over with a smile and held Tung Qingshan's arm. "I have an urgent matter to attend to." Tung Qingshan frowned and said anxiously, "Little Jun, this afternoon, the three garrisons of Qinghu Island at the border of Jiangning County have already set out and are advancing towards Jiangning County City. Moreover, a few days ago, Elder Wu, whom I talked to you about, was killed by the blind sword master of Qinghu Island and an emptiness realm demonic beast. What? This? Li Jun was also shocked by this news. Even the Heavenly God Palace didn't know about Elder Wu's death. How could this happen? Li Jun was also shocked. Little Jun, the Gui Yuan sect, is in a very dangerous situation now. It's hard to say if I can threaten Qinghu Island alone. Tung Qingshan frowned and said, Moreover, as long as Qinghu Island is prepared and sends their elites away, I won't be able to take revenge even if I want to. Li Jun nodded slightly. Qingshan, what do you plan to do? Li Jun asked. Can you contact the Heavenly God Palace? Tung Qingshan asked. Tell them the situation. Tell them that once Yangzhou is united, it will be 10 times more troublesome for the Heavenly God Palace to occupy Yangzhou in the future. Ask them to send an emptiness realm expert over to help. That's possible. Li Jun nodded and said, This time, the Heavenly God Palace fell into a quagmire when we moved to Hongtian City in Yuzhou in the northeast. I think the sovereign doesn't want to fall into the same situation in Yangzhou in the future. Fell into a quagmire? Tung Qingshan frowned. Yes. Li Jun nodded and said, The Heavenly God Palace has been lurking in Qingzhou for over 100 years. We have secretly infiltrated and planted many forces. Therefore, we unified Qingzhou very quickly. However, the attack on Yuzhou this time is troublesome. Hongtian City has learned a lesson from Xiaoyao Palace and united the entire Yuzhou. Moreover, they have used a very sinister method. They didn't fight the Heavenly God Palace recklessly. First, Hongtian City divided their elite troops into small groups and led a large number of small troops of over 10,000 people. They were like wild wolves that attacked our army from time to time. Secondly, Hongtian City issued a bounty in Yuzhou and began to recruit soldiers in the entire Yuzhou. Anyone who joined the army and killed a soldier of the Heavenly God Palace would be rewarded with 500 taels of silver. 500 taels of silver. Such a high reward for killing one person. It's enough to make many bandits and robbers in Yuzhou jealous. For a time, there were hundreds or even thousands of troops in the entire Yuzhou. The large troops only had 20 to 30,000 people, and the small troops only had about 1,000 people. Relying on their familiarity with the local terrain, they attacked the army of the Heavenly God Palace with various methods, traps, sneak attacks, and poison. Li Jun smiled bitterly and shook her head. The Heavenly God Palace does have emptiness realm experts. However, what can a few emptiness realm experts do against the ocean-like troops? Sigh. The army of the Heavenly God Palace has fallen into a quagmire in Yuzhou. We are in big trouble. Therefore, the sovereign might agree to send an emptiness realm expert to help the Gui Yuan sect. Li Jun nodded. Chapter 473. Tung Qingshan's eyes brightened. The Heavenly God Palace had fallen into a quagmire in Yuzhou and suffered. They definitely didn't want to suffer in Yangzhou again. It was very likely that they would befriend the Gui Yuan sect. Although the Heavenly God Palace has a few emptiness realm experts, they can't do anything in the face of such an ocean-like wolf tactic. Tung Qingshan urged, Little Jun, quickly send someone to inform the Heavenly God Palace. We don't have much time. If we delay, it will be too late. The 3 garrisons were only 700 to 800 li away from the Gui Yuan sect. All right. Li Jun immediately walked to the desk and sat down. She took out a brush and a piece of paper. Tung Qingshan stepped forward to help grind the paper. Li Jun quickly wrote a short secret letter. She blew it dry and rolled it up. Then, she shouted loudly, Guards! Creak! The door opened. A bodyguard hastily ran in and knelt down respectfully. This secret letter is extremely urgent. Send it to the sovereign as soon as possible. Li Jun ordered, Go now. Hurry. Yes. The bodyguard received the letter respectfully and dashed out. Only then did Tung Qingshan let out a sigh of relief. This letter had a glimmer of hope. However, he couldn't place all his hopes on the Heavenly God Palace. Qingshan, I have an idea. Li Jun's eyes brightened. Ting Qingshan looked at Li Jun expectantly and asked, "What idea?" "Qingshan, I can ask the new army of the Snowy Lotus cult, which is currently training at the border of Qingzhou and Yangzhou, to advance towards Yangzhou and scare Qinghu Island," Li Jun said with a smile. Tung Qingshan's eyes brightened when he heard Li Jun's words. Brilliant! If the blind sword master receives the news that the army of the Heavenly God Palace has entered the territory of Yangzhou, he will definitely be frightened. Tung Qingshan's eyes brightened. However, in the next moment, Tung Qingshan looked at Li Jun with a frown and said, "Little Jun, if the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace finds out, he will probably punish you." "I'm fine." Li Jun smiled and said, "I'm the substitute hierarch. Originally, I had the authority to dispatch the troops. As for entering the territory of Yangzhou, from my teacher's conversation, I know that the Heavenly God Palace is ambitious towards Yangzhou. As for Qinghu Island, the Palace Lord and the others don't care. I only sent troops to Yangzhou. I didn't really attack. Scaring them is a small matter. If you really want to punish me, I won't be the acting sect master anymore." Li Jun giggled. Tung Qingshan couldn't help but stretch out his hand and gently caress Li Jun's face. There was a trace of guilt in his heart, but Li Jun gently buried her head in Tung Qingshan's embrace. "Little Jun, it's time for me to go." Tung Qingshan let go of Li Jun. Li Jun raised her head and stared at Tung Qingshan. "Qingshan, you be careful." Tung Qingshan nodded and walked outside. "Remember, after this is over, you must come to Qingzhou to see me. I will wait for you here." Li Jun hastily shouted anxiously. Her eyes were filled with tears. Tung Qingshan's figure trembled slightly. Then, he opened the door and disappeared in a streak of rainbow light. Li Jun walked to the door of the study room. Her eyes were filled with tears as she looked up at the sky. She knew that if something happened to the Gui Yuan sect, Tung Qingshan would definitely go. She couldn't stop him. In Li Jun's heart, she didn't care about the Gui Yuan sect. She only knew that her man had to come back safely. Roar! Li Jun roared towards the sky. Roar! A roar came from the boundless night sky. In the night sky, Tung Qingshan, who was standing on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi, heard the six-legged blade-like Qi roaring downwards. He knew that it was because of Li Jun, no matter what. Tung Qingshan looked towards the south, his eyes glowing. "This time, I must protect the Gui Yuan sect." Whoosh! The six-legged blade-like Qi streaked across the night sky and flew towards the Gui Yuan sect at an extreme speed. In the night sky, Tung Qingshan stood on the back of the six-legged blade-like Qi and looked down. On the pitch-black and boundless land, there was a winding fire dragon. The fire dragon was formed by countless soldiers holding torches high. Just by looking at the length of the fire dragon, one could imagine the number of soldiers in the army. This should be the army stationed in the north. They are heading towards Jiangning County City. Tung Qingshan observed and said, "The army stationed in the north is the closest to Jiangning County City. They are actually traveling through the night. It seems that Qinghu Island must have given a death order this time. I guess the order is to rush to Jiangning County City as soon as possible." Tung Qingshan guessed. Phew! The six-legged blade-like Qi flew high up in the sky and rapidly overtook the huge army. With the help of the power of the heavens and the earth, the six-legged blade-like Qi's speed was 100 times faster than the army. In a few seconds, Tung Qingshan saw the huge city below. The city walls were filled with torches. Jiangning County City. "Teacher, I am here," Tung Qingshan said with the use of a sound transmission technique. "Qingshan." In Jiangning County City, Zhuge Yuanhong, who was in the Gui Yuan sect, heard it clearly. "Teacher, choose a place. I want the six-legged blade-like Qi to land," Tung Qingshan said with the use of the sound transmission technique. The Gui Yuan sect, which already knew that the army of Qinghu Island was approaching, was in chaos. Usually, most of the disciples would be asleep at this time. However, today, even the children might not be able to sleep. The entire Gui Yuan sect was brightly lit, and people could be seen everywhere. I am in the martial ancestors' mansion. Tell the demonic beasts to come here. Zhuge Yuanhong's voice could be heard clearly by Teng Qingshan. Whoosh! Under Teng Qingshan's guidance, the six-legged blade-like Qi transformed into a blur and landed in Elder Wu's mansion. Almost no one saw it in the dark night. In Elder Wu's mansion, only Zhuge Yuanhong was there. When Teng Qingshan landed, blade-like Qi, Teng Qingshan patted the six-legged blade-like Qi lightly. The six-legged blade-like Qi understood Teng Qingshan's meaning. It drilled into the ground and rested underground. Teacher, what's the situation now? Teng Qingshan stared at Zhuge Yuanhong. The law-enforcing elders know that the martial ancestor is dead. When they heard that the army of Qinghu Island is approaching, they were all worried. Zhuge Yuanhong frowned and said, therefore, the sect is urgently arranging for some elite disciples and the treasures of the sect to be transferred. After all, the death of the martial ancestor has caused everyone to lose confidence. Although the Gue Yuan sect had left seeds in many places in the land of the 9 prefectures, the true treasures were still in the sect and had not been sent out. Teng Qingshan nodded slightly. Wow! Suddenly, a clamor came from the north. Zhuge Yuanhong looked towards the north and said, the troops stationed in the north of Qinghu Island have arrived. I saw them when I came here just now. Teng Qingshan nodded and said, they were very close to the county city. Let's go. Accompany me to the top of the city wall to have a look. Zhuge Yuanhong took a deep breath. On the northern city wall, a great number of soldiers of the Gue Yuan sect stood on the city wall. Every one of them was either nervous or gritting their teeth as they stared at the army gathering in the north. Teng Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong stood side by side on the city wall, watching the army rushing over from the north. Among the 3 armies, the troops stationed in the north of Qinghu Island are the first to arrive. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, Qingshan, this is the greatest calamity that the Gue Yuan sect has ever faced. Do you think we can overcome this crisis and turn it into a safe one? Yes. Teng Qingshan said in a deep voice, we definitely can. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said nothing. Although Qinghu Island had attacked once a few years ago, the blind sword master of Qinghu Island didn't participate in the attack. Secondly, the Gue Yuan sect had Elder Wu. What about now? The blind sword master killed Elder Wu and immediately sent an army. It was obvious that the blind sword master wanted to destroy Qinghu Island in one fell swoop. It was hard to change the blind sword master's mind. Teacher, I'm going to see my parents. Teng Qingshan said. Zhuge Yuanhong turned his head and said, the army of Qinghu Island has just arrived, and they are traveling at a high speed. Definitely need to rest. They will probably attack the city tomorrow. There's no hurry. You can go. Father and mother are at the clan. Through his domain, Teng Qingshan could clearly sense the location of his father and mother. It was a large mansion, and there were many familiar auras of his clansmen. A blur landed in the mansion of the Teng clan. Teng Qingshan stood in the shadows and looked at a family not far away. Son, don't worry. It's fine. Didn't Qinghu Island flee with their tails between their legs the last time they came? This time we'll be fine. Your father is the spear master of Tengjia village and a centurion of the Black Armored Corps. I can kill each of those thieves of Qinghu Island with one shot. Come, give your father a kiss. A tall man wearing heavy armor and holding a helmet with one hand was hugging a young man. A woman stood beside him with tears in her eyes. Wife, where's Xiang? The man asked. Father. A cry came from not far away. A beautiful girl ran over and hugged the man of the Black Armored Corps tightly. Father, don't go. Don't go. Xiang, your father is one of the best men of Tengjia village. How can he be afraid of death? Your uncle Qingshan killed a few innate experts of Qinghu Island when he was only 17. Which man of Tengjia village isn't a good man? The man of the Black Armored Corps wiped his daughter's face and said, Don't cry. Father will be back soon. With this, he put down his daughters. Wife. The man of the Black Armored Corps hugged the woman, and the woman hugged her husband tightly. She couldn't help but cry. Brother Qinghao, I will wait for you to come back. Yes. The man of the black armored corps picked up a big iron spear beside him and left with his helmet in one hand. Father, father. The young man and the young girl wanted to chase after him, but their mother held them back. Qinghao. Tung Qingshan looked at the back of the man of the black armored corps as he left. That was Tung Qinghao, the son of Tung Jia village's spear master, Tung Yongxiang. Now, he inherited his father's position. Not only was he the clan spear master, he was also a centurion of the black armored corps. With the help of the tiger fist that Tung Qingshan taught him and the scarlet fruit wine that he left behind, many experts appeared in Tung Jia village. Tung Qingshan silently advanced into the clan's mansion. Within the Tung clan, there weren't many clans that joined the black armored army. There were only a dozen clans. After a while, Tung Qingshan arrived at the residence of the old clan chief, his maternal grandfather, Tung Yunlong. Yongfan, this is a great calamity for our Tung Jia village. Tung Qingshan clearly heard Tung Yunlong's aged voice. In the past, Qingshan caused the deaths of many innate experts of Qinghu Island. Those innate experts belong to the great clans of Qinghu Island. The descendants of those clans will definitely take revenge for their ancestors. Once they conquer Jiangning County City, they will definitely look for the Tung clan and annihilate us to avenge those innate experts. Hearing his grandfather's voice, Tung Qingshan's body trembled. Right, the hatred between him and Qinghu Island was too deep. Even if the blind sword master didn't annihilate the Tung clan, the clans of the 13 innate experts who died in the Battle of the Great Yin Mountain would still avenge them. No matter what, Tung Qingshan clenched his fist. No matter what, we cannot let Qinghu Island conquer Jiangning County City. Chapter 474. In the pitch-black night, Tung Qingshan stood silently in a dark corner outside his grandfather's house. Suddenly, Qinghu? Tung Qingshan immediately saw a heavily armored man carrying a baby in his arms. Beside him was a young woman with red and swollen eyes. The current Qinghu was completely different from 4 years ago. Father, mother. Qinghu stood in front of a house beside Tung Qinghu. The door opened and a couple walked out. It was Tung Qinghu's father, Tung Yonghang, and his wife. Qinghu, are you going as well? Tung Yonghang asked in a deep voice. Yes, I am the commander of the Black Armor Corps. How can I retreat at a time like this? Qinghu passed the baby in his arms to his wife. With a bang, he knelt down heavily and kowtowed 3 times. He raised his head and said, Father, mother, please forgive me for being unfilial. Wife, you must take good care of father and mother when I'm not here. The young woman bit her lips and nodded heavily while holding the baby. I know, Brother Qinghu. Creak. The door to Tung Yunlong's house opened, and Tung Yunlong and Yuan Lan, who was pushing the wheelchair, walked out. Grandfather. Qinghu turned to look at Tung Yunlong. Yes. Tung Yunlong looked at his grandson and laughed loudly. Good. Remember, you are the blazing spear Tung Qinghu on the Earth ranking. You are a son of the Tung clan. Go. The clan will take care of the matters at home. His voice was clear, but there were tears at the corner of Tung Yunlong's eyes. Qinghu kowtowed heavily to Tung Yunlong and then stood up. Wife. Qinghu hugged his wife lightly and then the baby. He lowered his head and kissed the baby's little face. A drop of tear rolled down and fell on his child's face. Phew. After putting the baby back in his wife's arms, Qinghu held a silver spear in his hand and strode away without looking back. Boo-hoo. The young woman hugged the baby and couldn't help but cry. Tung Qingshan silently watched this scene and then looked at his father who was sitting in the wheelchair and his mother who was pushing the wheelchair. Father, mother, don't worry. I won't let them die, I won't. Tung Qingshan looked at his parents. His figure blurred and disappeared. If Qinghu Island and the Gue Yuan sect really started fighting, then, as the commander of the Black Armor Corps, Qinghu, of course, had to take the lead. In the sea of people, no matter how strong he would still lose his life. On the drill ground of the Gue Yuan sect. As Tung Qingshan walked into the Gue Yuan sect, he could see the drill ground at a glance. Back when Tung Shan was the commander of the Black Armored Corps, he also led the troops there. On the drill ground, which was illuminated by torches, many black armored soldiers wearing heavy armor and holding weapons were laughing and teasing each other. Haha, look at your ugly face. Those soldiers of Qing Hu Island killed them like cutting melons. Commander, all the brothers of the 100 Squad of the 3rd Battalion of the 1st Army are here. A loud voice was heard. The 200th Troop of the 1st Battalion of the 1st Division is here. Not a single one is missing. Another deep voice sounded. Tung Shan silently looked at the men who seemed unconcerned, but most of their eyes were slightly red and swollen. Among all these Black Armored Corps soldiers, Tung Shan knew many of them. Many of them were brothers with Tung Shan. All the brothers of the 3rd Platoon of the 2nd Battalion of the 1st Division are here. Yes, everyone is here. The roars made Tung Shan feel an indescribable shock. Although he was an Emptiness Realm expert, he was still shocked when he heard the roars of so many Black Armored Corps brothers. Just then, Old Commander, Master, why are you here? Old Commander, we are enough to kill Qing Hu Island. Ha, why? Do you think I can't do it with one arm? A hearty laughter sounded. Tung Shan's heart trembled. He looked carefully at the person in the distance. It was a one-armed elder. It was the senior Tung Shan had met when he joined the Black Armored Corps, the first commander, Ji Hong. Ji Hong had lost his right arm in the fight for the Black Fire Spirit Fruit, so he gave up the position of commander and let Tung Shan take over. Commander Ji Hong. Tung Shan looked at the silver-haired, one-armed elder. Ji Hong looked even older than 4 years ago. Ji Hong carried a saber and laughed. Qing Hu Island wants to destroy the Gui Yuan sect? Dream on. I, Ji Hong, wore open-crotch pants when I was young. I peed and played with mud in the Gui Yuan sect. I learned the saber in the Gui Yuan sect, gave birth to my children in the Gui Yuan sect, and taught disciples in the Gui Yuan sect. This land belongs to the Gui Yuan sect. No one could take it away. Ji Hong's expression was ferocious. I will kill anyone who dares to take it away. Ji Hong lowered his head and grabbed a handful of soil, revealing a peaceful smile. Senior Marshal Brother Ji, what's wrong? Didn't we pee and play with mud here? Didn't we get married and have children here? A group of silver-haired, spirited elders could be seen. Each of them was wearing armor, holding swords, sabers, and spears. Their auras were even stronger than those of the Black Armored Corps. I played in Long Gang since I was young. Even if I die, Long Gang still belongs to the Gui Yuan sect. An elder turned his head and looked at Long Gang in the south. The disciples of the Gui Yuan sect were sentimentally attached to this piece of land. This was their root. Without a sound, Tung Shan disappeared and arrived at Elder Wu's mansion. There was only the six-legged blade-like Qi underground. There was no one else in the mansion. Tung Shan sat cross-legged on the spacious training field, sentimentally attached to this land. I'm sentimentally attached to this land. I was born, grew up, married, had children, grew old. I'm willing to die fighting for this land. After being influenced by the Tung clan, the Black Armored Corps, and the elders of the Gui Yuan sect, Tung Shan's spirit entered a special state. Tung Shan's spirit naturally connected with the land. Tung Shan's heart was filled with sentimentally attached to this land. He was sentimentally attached to this land. This land was like his mother. Gradually, an earthy yellow glow appeared on Tung Shan's body, but Tung Shan didn't seem to notice it. Earth. Tung Shan seemed to have transformed into the earth unknowingly. He could feel the grass bursting out of the earth, growing and withering, and then growing again in the coming year. He also sensed that there were many living beings on this land who were laughing happily. There were babies who were learning to speak, lively children, teenagers who were diligently learning martial arts, young people who were exploring the world, middle-aged people who were starting their own families, and old people who were playing with their children. He could also feel the sentimentally attached to this land by the grass, flowers, trees, and humans. Tung Shan, who was immersed in his comprehension, unknowingly started practicing his fist art. The moves of the earth element fist had a special charm to them. The first move, the second move. When Tang Qingshan punched out the eighth move, he naturally switched to the first move. He continued practicing like this. After an unknown amount of time, rumble, Tang Qingshan didn't control the power of the heavens and the earth, but this fist art caused the earth to shake. Whoosh! A figure landed in the courtyard. It was Zhuge Yuanhong. He looked at Tang Qingshan practicing his fist art in astonishment and thought to himself, Qingshan. At the same time, another two figures landed. They were the law-enforcing elders of the Gui Yuan sect, Elder Yin and Elder Anai. Elder Anai, who had a grave and stern expression, looked at Tang Qingshan, who was practicing his fist art in astonishment, and asked, Sovereign, who is this person? I have never seen him before. Elder Yin said with a frown. He is a guest of the Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong stared at Tang Qingshan's fist art attentively and said, Don't talk. Watch his fist art. Tang Qingshan was so immersed in practicing his fist art that he didn't notice that someone was approaching. Rumble, the earth split open, and a huge, hideous triangular head emerged. A pair of huge blade-like legs extended out as well. The six-legged blade-like Qi glanced coldly at Zhuge Yuanhong and the other two elders before it stared at Tang Qingshan's fist art. Although the six-legged blade-like Qi studied the Tao of metal, it had lived in the earth for a long time and had some understanding of the Tao of earth. At this moment, the six-legged blade-like Qi was very excited as it watched Tang Qingshan practice his fist art. This is Elder Anai and Elder Yin were both shocked by the six-legged blade-like Qi. This is this guest demonic beast. Zhuge Yuanhong continued to watch Tang Qingshan practice his fist art. After an unknown amount of time, a faint ray of light finally appeared in the heavens and the earth. It was already dawn. Tang Qingshan struck out with his fist art once again. The first punch, the second punch, the eighth punch. This time, after the eighth punch, Tang Qingshan pressed his left hand down and followed up with a punch with his right hand. In the eyes of Zhuge Yuanhong and the other two elders, Tang Qingshan's punch seemed to have transformed into the boundless earth, encompassing everything. Silence. Tang Qingshan withdrew his power and stood still calmly. Zhuge Yuanhong and the other two elders stared at Tang Qingshan. Rays of earthy yellow flowing light surrounded Tang Qingshan. Gradually, Tang Qingshan opened his eyes. A trace of tears could be seen at the corner of his eyes, but his eyes were unprecedentedly dazzling. The earth of the earth is tolerant, obedient, and nurturing towards all living things that grow on it. It is tolerant and nurturing towards all living things, and it is equivalent to being the mother of all living things. All living things are also sentimental towards the earth that gave birth to them and nurtured them. The virtue of the earth is thick, so it can nurture all living things. Tang Qingshan's state of mind was unprecedentedly calm. As he walked on the ground, he could feel the power transmitted from the earth. Since then, Tang Qingshan had finally created the ninth punch of his earth elemental fist. After the fire elemental Tao and the metal elemental Tao, the earth elemental Tao was finally completed. No wonder I couldn't create the ninth punch, even after so long. Originally, I only knew that the earth was thick and heavy, and I pursued strength in pursuit of heaviness. If that was the case, how could I create the ninth punch and comprehend the earth elemental Tao and the earth elemental Tao? Tang Qingshan was suddenly enlightened. Wow! A clamor sounded from the east. Zhuge Yuanhong and the other two elders looked toward the east. Oh no, the last army has arrived. Elder Anai, who had a grave and stern expression, said, Once the three armies have arrived, it will be daybreak now. I'm afraid a war is about to break out. Elder Yin said solemnly. Senior Jing Yi, we will go to the city wall first. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at Tang Qingshan and said, Jing. Elder Yin and Elder Anai were shocked. They looked at each other and revealed joyful expressions. Tang Qingshan opened his mouth and said, You guys go to the city wall first. I will be there in a while. The fourth chapter was completed. Tomato said that he needed to write 6 chapters in the last 3 days. He had written 3 chapters yesterday and today. He still owed everyone 3 chapters. In other words, Tomato had to write 5 chapters tomorrow. Yes, Tomato wrote 7 chapters on the last day of the previous month. He believed that there would be no problem with 5 chapters tomorrow. Tomato's promise would definitely be fulfilled. It was the last day of February. This was the last day of the month. It would be a waste if he didn't vote for the monthly votes. Everyone, please vote for Tomato. Tomato will work hard. Voting method. Click recommend author for monthly votes below. Chapter 475. The sky was just beginning to brighten. At this moment, the entire Gui Yuan sect was immersed in the atmosphere of an impending storm. Many people even believed that they would die. However, the few people in the top management of the Gui Yuan sect were different. Haha, we are saved. We are saved. Among Zhuge Yuanhong, Elder Yan, and Elder and I, who were rushing up the city wall, Elder Yan's face was filled with joy. He couldn't help but say, I didn't expect that Senior Jing Yi would actually be in the Gui Yuan sect at this time. With Senior Jing Yi here, the Gui Yuan sect will be saved. Ha! I didn't expect it to be Senior Jing Yi. Elder and I, who had a cold expression on his face, turned to look at Zhuge Yuanhong. There was an unconcealable excitement in his eyes as he asked, Sovereign, where did you find Senior Jing Yi? Why would Senior Jing Yi help the Gui Yuan sect? Really, Sovereign, you found Senior Jing Yi and saved the Gui Yuan sect. Jing Yi's name had already spread throughout the world. Elder and I and Elder Yin had been raised by the Gui Yuan sect since they were young. They had long regarded the Gui Yuan sect as their home. Before this, they were especially pessimistic after Elder Wu died. They were prepared to die together with the Gui Yuan sect. However, now that they suddenly found out that an emptiness realm expert was in the Gui Yuan sect, it was understandable that they were so excited and lost their composure. Look at you two. Do you still look like the law-enforcing elders? Zhuge Yuanhong smiled. Although he felt a little sad, he still said, Senior Jing is an old friend of the Gui Yuan sect. When he heard that the Gui Yuan sect is facing a calamity, he rushed over without hesitation. Yes, one can only see through a person when he is in danger. Elder Yan's eyes were slightly red as he said, the Gui Yuan sect must remember Senior Jing Yi's great kindness. We must not forget his great kindness. Elder Yan nodded. At this time, Zhuge Yuanhong and the other two had already climbed up the city wall. They didn't talk about Jing Yi anymore. There were a large number of soldiers on the inner city wall. Sovereign, Elder, the elders and protectors of the sect all bowed to them. Master, a voice could be heard. A tall and sturdy young man with a mustache stared at Zhuge Yuanhong. This man was the third law enforcer of the Gui Yuan sect, Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng had just stepped into the Xiantian realm not long ago. He was arranged by Zhuge Yuanhong to lead the Gui Yuan sect's most mysterious army, the Longgang Guards. Ah Feng, Zhuge Yuanhong said in a low voice. Are you ready? Yes, the 6,000 brothers of Longgang are all ready. Zhang Feng nodded solemnly. Yes, when the time comes, it's up to them. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded. However, in his heart, Zhuge Yuanhong was hoping that the blind sword master would retreat because of Qing Shan's appearance. In Elder Wu's residence, Tung Qing Shan, who had just comprehended the earth elemental Tao, opened the wooden box that he always carried on his back and took out his personal weapon, the Splitting Mountain Axe. Tung Qing Shan was using the Splitting Mountain Axe because of Jing Yi's identity. Few strong winds howled. Tung Qing Shan held the Splitting Mountain Axe, which was faintly glowing with a purple light, and continuously performed the axe arts of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Although he did not use the power of the heavens and the earth and the internal supreme force, the surrounding space was completely distorted. Sometimes it seemed like it was going to split the heavens and the earth. Sometimes it seemed like the sun that was going to incinerate the earth. Sometimes it seemed like an enormous and heavy millstone that was like the boundless earth. The shadows of the axe were like pieces of armor whizzing through the air, wrapping Tung Qingshan's figure in layers. This time, Tung Qingshan felt unprecedentedly carefree when he performed the axe art. The speed of the axe art also became faster and faster. In the end, he transformed into an illusory flowing light that continuously flashed and moved on the surrounding earth. The six-legged blade-like Qi, whose head had emerged from the ground and was watching Tung Qingshan practice the axe art, widened its protruding eyes. Whoosh! Tung Qingshan stopped. Ha! The culmination of the earth elemental Tao is indeed extraordinary. Tung Qingshan's face was filled with joy as he said, Emperor Yu is indeed Emperor Yu, as expected of the most powerful omnipotent expert in history. He even created the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons and the 36 splitting mountain forms. This axe art is indeed powerful, very powerful. Tung Qingshan was extremely excited. Compared to Emperor Yu, the 5 elemental spear art that I created is very immature. Tung Qingshan had to admit this. Previously, Tung Qingshan had only comprehended the metal elemental Tao and the fire elemental Tao. He had yet to truly display the power of the 36 splitting mountain forms. This was because the beginning of the 36 splitting mountain forms was the earth elemental Tao. If he couldn't even comprehend the earth elemental Tao, how could he display the power of the axe art? The 36 splitting mountain forms started with the earth elemental Tao. Then it gradually became more profound, fusing the metal elemental Tao and the fire elemental Tao. It could be said that Tung Qingshan, who had comprehended the earth elemental Tao, the metal elemental Tao, and the fire elemental Tao, could at least completely display the power of the first 18 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. This was because the first 6 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms describe the earth elemental Tao. From the 7th to the 12th form, the metal elemental Tao was gradually fused. From the 13th to the 18th form, the fire elemental Tao was fused. From the 19th form onwards, the other 2 Taos of the 5 elemental Taos were included. Only when the 5 elemental Taos reached the culmination stage would one be able to display all the offensive forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. However, currently, Tung Qingshan could at least display 100% of the power of the first 18 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. Emperor Yu is indeed Emperor Yu. Tung Qingshan was extremely excited as he thought to himself, the spear move of my vermilion metal tiger cannon was purely a trick. The first 18 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms are the true pinnacle moves. Its power is truly great. An ordinary emptiness realm expert. If one comprehended 3 types of Taos and infused the 3 types of power of the heavens and earth into the same move, the different types of power of the heavens and earth would conflict with each other. If one comprehended 60% of the power of the heavens and earth, the conflict would consume 10% of the power of the heavens and earth. Only 50% of the power of the heavens and earth would remain. As for the more powerful emptiness realm experts, they would be able to display 60% of the power of the heavens and earth without internal friction. As for the powerful emptiness realm experts, not only would they not have internal friction, but they would also have the effect of amplifying each other. With 60% of the power of the heavens and earth, they would be able to display 65 to 70% of the power of the heavens and earth. The more types of the power of the heavens and earth, the more difficult it would be to prevent internal friction. If an emptiness realm expert could barely prevent internal friction between the 3 types of power of the heavens and earth. However, if one comprehended all the power of the heavens and earth and reached the culmination stage of the emptiness realm, it would be extremely difficult to prevent internal friction between the 10% of the power of the heavens and earth. Not to mention the perfect combination of the 10% of the power of the heavens and earth to display the most powerful effect. At this moment, the godly codices left behind by the omnipotent experts were very important, because the moves of the omnipotent experts had almost reached the pinnacle. Therefore, the Emperor Yu's Hall, the Ing family, and the Mani Temple all treated their godly codices as their most precious treasures. Right now, I can control 60% of the power of the heavens and earth. In addition to my physical strength, I can control 10% of the power of the heavens and earth. That is 70%. With 70% of the power of the heavens and earth, I can perfectly perform the first 18 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms. How powerful would it be? Tung Qingshan was extremely excited. This was because he had once seen Emperor Yu perform the axe art through the combination of the splitting mountain axe and the stone inscriptions. He had also seen the image of Emperor Yu performing the axe art. Moreover, he had studied the technique for many years. The 36 splitting mountain forms isn't just an axe art. It also contains a powerful body art. While performing the axe art, one's body naturally had to move along with it. In the past, Tung Qingshan had combined the body art of the 36 splitting mountain forms and the crossing worlds to create the earth walking technique. At this moment, after comprehending the earth elemental Tao, Tung Qingshan had comprehended a lot of this body art. Yes, before the blind sword master appears, I will study this close combat body art in detail. I will study it thoroughly. Tung Qingshan didn't dare to waste any time. With 70% of the power of the heavens and earth, this body art that belongs to Emperor Yu, the first 18 forms of the 36 splitting mountain forms, and Emperor Yu's most powerful weapon, the splitting mountain axe, Tung Qingshan was confident that he could defeat an emptiness realm expert who could control 80% of the power of the heavens and earth. As for the blind sword master who had achieved emptiness realm culmination, I need to comprehend more body art. Tung Qingshan began practicing the axe art again. At this moment, Tung Qingshan was in the Gui Yuan sect. The area within 34 li was his domain. Naturally, he had noticed the blind swordmaster's arrival. The early summer morning was still very cold. However, at this moment, the city walls of Jiangning County were filled with soldiers. There were also many disciples of the Gui Yuan sect and the soldiers of the Black Armored Corps. Rumble, under the eastern city wall, the army of Qinghu Island was advancing slowly like a dark tide, slowly flowing over. The thousands of soldiers of the Gui Yuan sect on the city wall held their breaths. Some of the disciples of the Gui Yuan sect who had yet to experience a bloody battle felt their palms sweating and their legs going soft, even though they were determined to die. After all, they were facing the army of Qinghu Island. Rumble, the army moving under the eastern city wall, stopped abruptly. Among the army of Qinghu Island, 3 men dressed in dark red armor stood respectfully before Guyong, who was dressed in sackcloth, and the blind sword master, who was dressed in black. Martial ancestor. Guyong stared at the blind sword master, feeling slightly puzzled. It was time for the battle to begin. The blind sword master stared at the city wall of Jiangning County City. He could clearly sense a powerful aura within Jiangning County City. This aura should belong to Jing-Yi. However, this aura seems to have changed slightly. Did Jing-Yi break through again? Why is he in Jiangning County City now? The blind sword master, who originally thought that he would be able to destroy the Gui Yuan sect in one fell swoop, felt slightly annoyed. Not necessarily. Maybe Jing-Yi is just here to watch the show. He doesn't belong to any sect. Why would he meddle in the affairs of the Gui Yuan sect? The blind sword master could only hope. As long as Jing-Yi didn't meddle in the affairs of the Gui Yuan sect, it would be very easy for him to destroy the Gui Yuan sect. However, suddenly, in the blind sword master's field of perception, he sensed the terrifying aura that represented Jing-Yi rushing towards the city wall at an astonishing speed. In the time it took to breathe, the terrifying aura had already reached the top of the city wall. On the city wall, Tung Qingshan appeared beside Zhuge Yuanhong. He still came. The blind sword master's face darkened. It would be troublesome if he wanted to destroy the Gui Yuan sect now. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 476. Jingyi, I hope you won't force me. Otherwise, the blind sword master was burning with rage. His rage even caused black streams of light to appear and disappear in the surrounding space. Martial ancestor, what's wrong? Guiyong was shocked. The other three generals were also shocked. The blind sword master ordered coldly, General Wu, go and challenge them. Yes. One of the men in dark red armor replied respectfully, and then quickly rushed to the front of the army. Qinghu Island's army was at the city gate. Everyone in Jiangning County City was anxious. After all, only a few people in the Gui Yuan sect knew of Jingyi's existence. Everyone felt very uneasy. On the city wall, Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Qingshan stood together. Beside Zhuge Yuanhong, Elder Enai, Elder Yin, and even the first commander of the Black Armored Corps, Tung Qinghu, Zhuge Yuanhong's son, gathered. Who is this person? Why is he standing beside my father? Zhuge Yin was slightly confused. He asked Tung Qinghu in a low voice. I don't know him either. Tung Qinghu was also confused. Even Elder Yin and the others don't dare to stand side by side with him. Suddenly, the two law-enforcing elders standing beside Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong simultaneously turned their heads and glared at the two. This is a senior expert. Don't be so rude. Elder Enai scolded in a low voice. Zhuge Yin and Tung Qinghu hastily shut their mouths. At this moment, Tung Qingshan turned his head and smiled at the two. Then, he continued to talk to Zhuge Yuanhong in a low voice. Look, someone is rushing to the front of the army. Zhuge Yuanhong said in a low voice. Tung Qingshan looked down and saw a man wearing a dark red battle armor, dashing rapidly into the army. He quickly rushed to the front and stood alone in front of the army. He was very eye-catching. People of the Gui Yuan sect, listen up. General Wu stood in front of Qinghu Island's army and shouted as he looked at the city walls of Jiangning County City. His voice reverberated throughout the entire Jiangning County City. The army of Qinghu Island has arrived. With a single order, we can flatten the Gui Yuan sect. You should just open the city gates and surrender obediently. Then, Qinghu Island can reduce the number of killings and let the Gui Yuan sect suffer fewer casualties. If you resist stubbornly. Today, Qinghu Island will turn the Gui Yuan sect into a piece of scorched earth. Surrender or stubbornly resist. Make your choice, General Wu said loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a slight commotion on the city wall of Jiangning County. Just then, Tung Qingshan, who was carrying the splitting mountain axe on his back, took a step forward. He leaned on the city wall and looked down at the thousands of soldiers and horses. He smiled faintly and said, Brother Tai Wu, the Gui Yuan sect is content with staying in a corner of the city. Why do you have to force them? In my opinion, why don't we all sit down and talk about this and let this matter rest? How about that? In the military camp of Qinghu Island, the blind sword master, who was standing indifferently, frowned and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, Brother Jing-yi, this is a matter between Qinghu Island and the Gui Yuan sect. In my opinion, Brother Jing-yi, you should stay out of this. If Brother Jing-yi doesn't care about this, Qinghu Island will definitely remember Brother Jing-yi's kindness. A voice sounded, Tai Wu, the Gui Yuan sect has done me a great favor in the past. Although many years have passed, I'm not a person who forgets his roots. I will definitely not watch the Gui Yuan sect be destroyed. The blind sword master's face darkened, and he said with the use of the sound transmission technique, Jing-yi, what do you mean? Are you going to fight me to the death for the sake of the Gui Yuan sect? I don't dare. Brother Tai Wu, you are an expert who has reached the culmination of the emptiness realm. How would I dare to fight you to the death? Tung Qingshan's voice sounded. However, Brother Tai Wu, where possible, one should forgive and forget. As far as I know, you also killed the emptiness realm expert of the Gui Yuan sect. Now, the Gui Yuan sect is no longer a threat to Qinghu Island. Just let it go. If you don't pull out the roots, there will be endless troubles in the future. The blind sword master said with the use of the sound transmission technique. At this moment, General Wu ran back to the army and asked, Grand Supreme Elder, if the Gui Yuan sect doesn't surrender, should we attack? Don't be hasty. The blind sword master humphed coldly. Brother Tai Wu, the reason why Qinghu Island wants to destroy the Gui Yuan sect is because you are worried that the Gui Yuan sect will collude with the Heavenly God Palace when the Heavenly God Palace attacks Yangzhou. I guarantee that the Gui Yuan sect will stay in Jiangning County obediently and will not be a burden to Qinghu Island. If the Gui Yuan sect does this, you don't have to do anything. I will personally execute the sovereign and the law-enforcing elders of the Gui Yuan sect. What do you think? The blind sword master frowned and shouted with the use of the sound transmission technique. Jing Yi, this is not a negotiation. The Gui Yuan sect and Qinghu Island have a great enmity. This time, Qinghu Island swears to destroy the entire Gui Yuan sect. If you want to save someone, I will give you face and agree. However, if you want me to retreat, it's impossible. Tai Wu, I, Jing Yi, am a person who repays kindness. The Gui Yuan sect showed me great kindness in the past, and I can't repay it even if I die. Let me tell you, this time, the Gui Yuan sect will be under my protection. If you want to attack and destroy the Gui Yuan sect, I guarantee that within a few months, Qinghu Island will be reduced to ruins and Yangzhou will be engulfed in flames. The blind sword master was enraged by Jing Yi's words, and his eyebrows twitched. Jing Yi, are you threatening me? You want Qinghu Island to be reduced to ruins? Do you think you can do that? The blind sword master's hair stood on end, and his face turned slightly red. Tai Wu, I will tell you the truth. I don't belong to any sect. The blind sword master was shocked when he heard this. I am a member of the Heavenly God Palace. These words caused the blind sword master, who had been suppressing his anger, to calm down completely. Actually, when Tung Qingshan had wreaked havoc on Qinghu Island, the blind sword master had already suspected that Jing Yi might be a member of the Heavenly God Palace, since there was no trace of this emptiness realm expert. After all, the Heavenly God Palace was very mysterious. The blind sword master had already suspected Jing Yi. Now that he heard this answer, he instantly thought of many possibilities. Why? You don't believe me? Tai Wu, when Qinghu Island sent out its army, I also sent out an army. Now, the army of the Heavenly God Palace has probably crossed the borders of Yangzhou and Qingzhou and entered the territory of Yangzhou. It was easy for the Heavenly God Palace to destroy Qinghu Island. These words had indeed frightened the blind sword master. Compared to the Heavenly God Palace, destroying the Gui Yuan sect was indeed a small matter. The army of the Heavenly God Palace has already entered the territory of Yangzhou. The blind sword master asked with the use of the sound transmission technique. Don't doubt it. According to my estimation, the men of Qinghu Island should have discovered it long ago. You will probably receive a secret letter soon. Tung Qingshan replied with the use of the sound transmission technique. On the city wall, Tung Qingshan looked down at the army below and smiled. He could feel that the blind swordmaster's mind was in a mess. He continued to say, with the use of the sound transmission technique, do you want to destroy the Gui Yuan sect and bring disaster to Qinghu Island? Or do you want to spare the Gui Yuan sect, which doesn't even have an emptiness realm expert? You have two choices. For a long time, the blind sword master did not reply. The army of Qinghu Island and the army of the Gui Yuan sect on the city wall were confused. Qinghu Island had challenged the Heavenly God Palace, but why hadn't they ordered to attack the city after such a long time? What's going on? This is strange. Zhuge Yun was puzzled. There's no movement. What is Qinghu Island plotting? Qinghu was also slightly surprised. He smiled and said, maybe it will be the same as last time. Later, they will be so scared that they will retreat. Zhuge Yuanhong, Elder Yin, and Elder and I all stared at Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan smiled at them and said, Qinghu Island is hesitating. Whether they will start the war or not, we will know soon. Suddenly, Vanguard Battalion, stay alert. Everyone else, rest. Voices rang out in the army of Qinghu Island. The soldiers of Qinghu Island, who had been tense all this while, sat down on the ground and started to rest and chat with each other. The army of Qinghu Island also rested under the northern and western city walls. They rested temporarily and stopped the war. Seeing this, the thousands of disciples and soldiers of the Gui Yuan sect on the city wall immediately cheered. It was obvious that Qinghu Island had threatened the Gui Yuan sect to make choice. But now they were resting. It was obvious that something had happened. In the distant Yuzhou, in a pavilion, Pei San was lying down leisurely. Meng Duan was massaging his shoulders from behind. The black-cloaked, black-haired, white-browed man stood beside him. "Ah Chow." Pei San smiled and said, "You have read the letter. Since it was written by Li Jun, it seems that our foreign dignitary Huha values the Gui Yuan sect. Ah Chow, go to the Gui Yuan sect and drive away the army of Qinghu Island." "Yes, teacher," the cold-looking man answered respectfully. Immediately, the black-cloaked, white-browed man transformed into a beam of sword light and streaked across the sky, disappearing. A few years ago, Huha had not reached the emptiness realm. Now, it is said that he has comprehended more than one Tao. Pei San smiled and said, "After we settle the matter of Hong Tian City, we should go and see our foreign dignitary. Duan, do you think we should go?" "Yes, we should go." Meng Duan nodded with a smile. "Hong Tian City does have some tricks." Pei San smiled and said, It seems that we can only expose the god of Heaven Mountain and break through Hong Tian City quickly." The army of Qinghu Island camped outside Jiangning County City for more than 2 hours. Many of the soldiers of the Gui Yuan sect, who were originally nervous, relaxed slightly. The sun had already risen high in the sky. In the military camp of Qinghu Island, the 3 generals and Gu Yong were sitting quietly beside the blind sword master. They had been waiting for more than 2 hours. General, there is an urgent secret letter." A voice rang out, and the 5 people present all stood up in surprise. "Where did the letter come from?" The blind sword master shouted. "From Chu County in the north," the soldier said respectfully as he handed the letter over. Chu County was located in the northernmost part of Yangzhou, bordering Qingzhou. Guyong took the letter and opened it. Immediately, his facial expression changed drastically. "Martial ancestor," Gu Yong hastily said. "The letter says that, at the border, the army of the Heavenly God Palace has already entered the territory of Yangzhou and is advancing towards Chu County City." "It's true." The blind swordmaster's facial expression turned ugly. Originally, he had doubted Jing Yi's words, but now he knew the news. Jing Yi is really from the Heavenly God Palace. No matter how calm the blind sword master was, he still felt slightly flustered. Grand Supreme Elder? The Heavenly God Palace is attacking Yangzhou? The faces of the 3 generals beside him turned pale with fright. The Heavenly God Palace had destroyed Xiao Yao Palace as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. "Martial ancestor, should we attack the Gui Yuan sect now?" Guyong couldn't help but ask. "P.S. The second watch has arrived. There will be 5 watches today." Chapter 477. Are you going to fight or not? The blind swordmaster's dull eyes drooped. This Jing Yi is so ruthless. The blind swordmaster opened his eyes abruptly. A sharp glint flickered in his grayish-white eyes as he said, "This Jing Yi actually lied to me. How could he be acquainted with the Gui Yuan sect? I'm afraid he has nothing to do with the Gui Yuan sect. I guess the Gui Yuan sect has already colluded with the Heavenly God Palace." "Grandmaster, what do you mean?" Guyong was a smart man and immediately understood. An angry expression appeared on Guyong's face as he said, "Martial ancestor, Jing Yi is using some tricks to restrain us and stop us from attacking the Gui Yuan sect. In reality, he is trying to protect a chess piece of the Heavenly God Palace, the Gui Yuan sect. In the future, when the Heavenly God Palace attacks Yangzhou, the Gui Yuan sect can coordinate with them from the inside and the outside, one inside and the other outside. Moreover, the Gui Yuan sect has been operating in Yangzhou for more than 1,000 years. I'm afraid there are hidden sentries all over Yangzhou, especially the few counties around Jiangning County. There must be arrangements. Once the war starts, the Heavenly God Palace will probably be able to attack from the north all the way to Jiangning County. Occupy half of Yangzhou. Guyong couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. That scene was too terrifying. Yes, as long as our Yangzhou is united. The blind sword master said, let's learn from Hong Tian City. We'll scatter our elite disciples and hide them. Then, we'll send over 1,000 troops to deal with the troops of the Heavenly God Palace. Let him sink into my Yangzhou's quagmire. The emptiness realm expert wouldn't be able to win. He could only rely on the advantage of being a local tyrant. Grandmaster, what about the Gui Yuan sect? Guyong's eyes flashed with a cold light. Kill. The blind sword master said coldly. We can get rid of future troubles in one fell swoop. This way, we won't have to worry about it working together with the Heavenly God Palace. Guyong, take out the box I asked you to bring. The three of you go out first. The blind sword master instructed, get ready. Once I give the order, the three of you will attack the Gui Yuan sect together. Yes, Grand Elder. The three generals respectfully retreated and hurried back to their respective troops. Guyong hurriedly brought over a large metal box from his side. Open it, the blind sword master ordered. Clang! Opening the metal box, there was a set of silver armor inside. There were battle boots and a helmet. The entire set of silver armor was placed in the box, and it gave off a murderous aura. Guyong, put it on, the blind sword master instructed. Guyong did not dare to disobey the order. He immediately put on a set of armor, boots, and helmet. For a moment, Guyong's entire body was almost completely covered. Only his hands and face were exposed. This set of godly armor is the most valuable treasure of Qinghu Island. 3,000 years ago, an insightful emptiness realm expert named Qin Nan in the land of the 9 prefectures painstakingly forged it. The blind sword master stared at Guyong and said, in the past, the founding ancestor of Qinghu Island managed to snatch it from many emptiness realm experts by chance. Today, I might have to fight Jingyi. Later on, you will be by my side. I will protect you. Yes, Grandmaster. Guyong had long heard that there was a set of divine armor in the sect. Today, he could finally wear it. Let's go. Follow me and flatten the Gui Yuan sect. The blind sword master grabbed Guyong's arm with his left hand and held the thin iron rod with his right hand. Then he walked out of the tent. On the eastern city wall of Jiangning County City, Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong stood silently on top of the city wall, watching the army below. If the army of Qinghu Island didn't retreat, they wouldn't be at ease. Young sect master, have you settled Qingyu and the children? Yes, they have been settled. I hope to see Qingyu, my son and daughter again. Young sovereign, if we can survive this calamity, how about we arrange a marriage between my son and your daughter? Haha, all right. It's a deal. Tung Qingshan glanced at Zhuge Yun and Tung Qinghu, who were standing nearby. He thought to himself, don't worry. If nothing goes wrong, little Yun and Qinghu will be able to see their wives and children. At this moment, dong, 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 the sound of drums suddenly rang out. It was as if the drums were pounding on the hearts of everyone in the Gui Yuan sect. It was also pounding on Tung Qingshan's heart. What? Tung Qingshan's facial expression changed as he looked down the city wall. The facial expressions of Zhuge Yuanhong and the others also changed drastically. The soldiers of Qinghu Island, who had been resting lazily on the ground, stood up when they heard the drums. What's going on? Zhuge Yuanhong turned to look at Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan stared at the base of the city and saw a black-clothed blind man pulling a man dressed in silver armor out of a tent in the distance. Tung Qingshan could easily determine through his domain that the man protected by the armor was Guyong. Tai Wu, what are you doing? Tung Qingshan asked anxiously with the use of the sound transmission technique. What am I doing? The blind sword master sneered with the use of the sound transmission technique. Qinghu Island will flatten the Gui Yuan sect today. If you try to stop me, I will kill you as well. The blind sword master waved his hand. Seeing this scene, the general below the city wall immediately roared, "Attack! Attack! Attack! Attack!" The messengers immediately shouted. All the soldiers of Qinghu Island turned to look at the military flag at the same time. The military flag, which was originally upright, was now tilted towards the direction of Jiangning County. "Attack! Attack!" Immediately, a series of shouts rang out. Almost at the same time, battle cries rang out from the north and west walls of Jiangning County City. The battle cries of hundreds of thousands of people were like endless rumbling thunder that engulfed the entire Jiangning County City. The entire Jiangning County City seemed to be trembling. How could this be? Tung Qingshan stared at the foot of the city. The vast and mighty army, whose end could not be seen, was charging towards them. His facial expression changed drastically. Even if he was an emptiness realm expert, how could he defend against an army of hundreds of thousands? Standing not far from Tung Qingshan, the commander of the Black Armored Corps, Qinghu waved his silver long spear and roared, "Brothers, attack! We are the Black Armored Corps, the strongest Black Armored Corps. Killing 10 is the only way to break even. Killing 20 is a profit. Kill, kill, kill." With a ferocious expression on his face, Tung Qinghu held his silver long spear tightly. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The numerous soldiers of the Black Armored Corps and a large number of soldiers roared. Their throats turned red as they raised their weapons, ready to attack at any moment. Qingyu, the handsome Zhuge Yun, gently took out the jade pendant from his bosom and kissed it. "Take good care of our child." He then put the jade pendant back into his bosom with a determined look on his face. Holding a long sword in his hand, Zhuge Yun stared coldly at the thousands of soldiers charging towards the city wall. His cold eyes were filled with an unprecedented killing intent. Tung Qingshan looked at his brothers who were unafraid of death. Could he watch Qingyu lose her husband and become a widow? Could he watch Qinghu and Zhuge Yun die like this? Could he watch the Tung clan be hunted down and slaughtered by Qinghu Island? Tung Qingshan stared fixedly at the black-clothed blind man, who was holding Gu Yong's arm and standing among the soldiers. Tung Qingshan couldn't help but widen his eyes. "Tai Wu," a voice that sounded like that of the god of thunder, suddenly rang out. Boom! A silhouette dashed out of the city wall like a cannonball. Holding a huge axe in one hand, he fiercely smashed the ground under the city wall of Jiangning County City amidst the rain of arrows. The terrifying force of impact and the power of the heavens and earth caused the entire ground to undulate like waves. Many of the soldiers charging towards this direction were torn into pieces by the force of impact. Blood splattered everywhere, and a terrifying pit that was over 10 zhang long appeared on the ground. Dressed in a white cloak, Tung Qingshan stood in the middle of the pit with the huge axe in his hand. His gaze was like the dazzling sunlight, making people unable to look at him directly. "Tai Wu, if you don't retreat today, I, Jing Yi, will start a massacre." An extremely furious voice resounded like the roar of thunder. It's Jing Yi. The tens of thousands of soldiers of the Gui Yuan sect on the city wall were overjoyed. However, the army of Qinghu Island continued to charge forward. They wouldn't stop once the order was given. Today, the Gui Yuan sect will be annihilated. The black-clothed blind man stood as still as a mountain amidst the tens of thousands of soldiers. He stared at Tung Qingshan and declared coldly, "Ah." Tung Qingshan laughed angrily. His eyes were slightly red as he said, "Aren't you protecting Gu Yong? I will kill him first." Bang! Tung Qingshan dashed out like a bolt of lightning and dashed into the army of Qinghu Island. Tung Qingshan's extremely fast figure created a terrifying wave of air. The wave of air caused a large number of soldiers to be thrown into the air. Immediately, panic screams rang out. "How dare you charge towards me? You're courting death." The blind sword master held the thin, iron rod with one hand and stared at Tung Shan with his dull gray eyes. Everyone knew that the blind sword master was blind and couldn't see. However, no one dared to look down on him. He didn't have eyes, but he was able to observe more clearly than those with eyes. Rumble, Tung Shan held the splitting mountain axe with both of his hands. It was as if a giant god had descended from the heavens and fiercely slashed at the black-clothed blind man. The blade of the splitting mountain axe glowed with 3 colors, and the surrounding power of the heavens and earth surged towards Tung Shan's axe. For a moment, the huge axe in Tung Shan's hand was as dazzling as the sun. Oh no! The blind sword master was shocked. Before the battle even started, he had already sensed today's Jing. He was completely different from a few days ago. Tung Shan's body was 1 size thicker, and the veins on his face and arms were bulging. He had already unleashed his strongest physical strength. Tung Shan controlled all the power of the heavens and earth he could control and unleash this ferocious strike that he had been accumulating power while he was running. For a moment, it was as if the heavens and earth were being destroyed. The black-clothed blind man felt that he had nowhere to hide. This move was the move that Emperor Yu had painstakingly created. It wasn't something that could be dodged easily. Phew! The black-clothed blind man coldly thrust his thin iron rod, and a black ray of light pierced towards Tung Shan at an extremely fast speed. Bang! The splitting mountain axe fiercely struck the thin iron rod. The terrifying force contained in the axe caused the black-clothed blind man to be thrown backward. Astonishment appeared on his face as he thought to himself, 80% of the power of the heavens and earth, or 90%. The higher the level of an emptiness realm expert, the smaller the difference would be. This was because a novice emptiness realm expert could only control 20% of the power of the heavens and earth. As for emptiness realm culmination, one could control 100% of the power of the heavens and earth. 100% was 5 times the power of 20%. Naturally, an emptiness realm culmination expert could instantly kill a novice emptiness realm expert in close combat. After all, it was 5 times. However, one could unleash 80% of heaven and earth power, while the other could unleash 100% of heaven and earth power. How many times was 100% compared to 80%? The difference between them was only 20 to 30%, not even half. The difference was very small. Therefore, it was very difficult to be defeated in an instant. Furthermore, at this moment, the blind sword master had to protect Gu Yong while fighting the enemies. He couldn't let go. Boom! After he swung his axe, Tung Shan executed the close-quarters combat movement technique he had come to understand from the 36 mountain splitting styles. He arrived beside the blind man in black almost in a flash. How could it be so fast? The blind sword master was astonished. Kill, kill! Tung Shan held the splitting mountain axe in his hand as he listened to the frenzied battle cries of the Gui Yuan sect soldiers on the city wall behind him. Tung Shan's expression became even more ferocious. After all, the men of the Gui Yuan sect were dying at every moment. Tai Wu, if I don't destroy your Qinghu Island, I swear that I am not a man. P.S. This is the 3rd chapter. Continue writing. Chapter 478. The earth rumbled as Tung Shan wielded the splitting mountain axe like a demonic god. Once again, he hacked at the blind sword master. The blind sword master's heart was filled with anger. He was an emptiness realm culmination expert. How could he be forced into such a corner? Jing Yi's strength should be more than 80% of the power of the heavens and earth. Moreover, his close combat body art is too fast. I'm afraid that even if I didn't pay attention to Gu Yong, my close combat speed would only be on par with his. The blind sword master was both shocked and angry. In a real battle, even the emptiness realm culmination expert could only display 90% of the power of the heavens and earth. The remaining 10% would be consumed internally. The blind sword master could perfectly display 100% of his strength without any internal consumption. Among the emptiness realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures, he was definitely one of the most powerful figures. However, today he was holding Guyong's hand and protecting him. Therefore, he could only fight evenly with Tung Qingshan. In fact, he was even at a slight disadvantage. Chi. The beams of black light and the shadows of Tung Qingshan's axe were annihilated again and again. The ferocious attacks caused the earth to tremble. It was as if 2 huge demonic beasts were fighting here. The area of several hundred zhang below the eastern city wall was a mess. Smoke and dust filled the air. The soldiers of Qinghu Island also avoided this area. It should be known that many soldiers had died because of the 2 emptiness realm experts' attacks. On the city wall, Zhuge Yuanhong held his long sword and defended an area of 10 zhang. Any soldier of Qinghu Island who dashed into this area of 10 zhang would be killed by Zhuge Yuanhong with 1 strike. However, the soldiers in the other areas were not as carefree as Zhuge Yuanhong. This time, Qinghu Island's army consisted of 20,000 silver dragon soldiers. As for the ordinary soldiers, there were more than 400,000 soldiers. Each of the 3 armies had about 150,000 soldiers. In terms of numbers, the Gue Yuan Sect's army was far more than the Gue Yuan Sect's army. I didn't expect Qingshan to be able to fight against the blind sword master head-on. As Zhuge Yuanhong fought, he saw the terrifying scene of the 2 emptiness realm experts fighting below. He couldn't help but feel overjoyed as he thought to himself, Qingshan, he is only 22 years old. How can he improve so quickly? Fortunately, Qingshan stalled the blind sword master. This way, the Gue Yuan sect would be able to have a fair fight with the army of Qinghu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong's sword was merciless as he tossed the corpses to the ground. Yes, fair. If Tung Qingshan hadn't stopped the blind sword master, the blind sword master would have easily killed the sovereign and the law-enforcing elders of the Gue Yuan sect. If that happened, all the higher-ups of the Gue Yuan sect would have died. Of course, the morale of the soldiers would plummet. The blind sword master then smashed open the city gate with his rod. The army then charged into the city easily. Therefore, the army with emptiness realm experts had an absolute advantage. It was unfair to the other side. But now, the Gue Yuan sect could have a fair fight with Qinghu Island. Kill! Qinghu's body was covered in blood. He alone guarded the area of 3 zhang. The silver spear in his hand transformed into a series of afterimages. Puchi! The spear pierced through the throats and heads. The corpses were tossed to the ground with ease. Every move was the plucking chestnut from the 5 techniques of the ardent flame. Brothers, kill him. The army of Qinghu Island had obviously noticed Qinghu. Immediately, 5 silver dragon soldiers dashed up on ladders. Ha die! Qinghu laughed arrogantly. For a moment, the silver spear transformed into a series of afterimages. The afterimages were as fast as gunpowder being ignited. In the blink of an eye, the masks of the 5 silver dragon soldiers were pierced. However, the soldiers' blades and spears still struck Qinghu's body. Qinghu waved his spear, and the 5 corpses fell to the ground. This move was the prairie fire of the 5 techniques of the ardent flame. During the battle in the Great Yin Mountain, Tung Qingshan was chased by Qinghu Island. Qinghu hated himself for not being strong enough. After returning to the Gue Yuan sect, Qinghu studied the 5 techniques of the ardent flame that Tung Qingshan taught him. In 3 years, Qinghu mastered the 5 techniques of the ardent flame and became one of the top experts in the Black Armored Corps. After that, Zhuge Yuanhong gave Qinghu a drop of the elixir of the North Sea, which allowed Qinghu to reach the peak of the post-liminary realm. With the help of the vigor of the Reckless Bull and the Scarlet Fruit Wine, Qinghu's name spread far and wide in the past 3 years. He was even listed in the earthly ranking. Young Sovereign. Qinghu's facial expression suddenly changed. Not far away, Zhuge Yun was slashed by a saber, creating a large wound. Although Zhuge Yun killed the Qinghu Island soldier with lightning speed, It was obvious that Zhuge Yun would die if this continued. Qinghu immediately swept his long spear, helping Zhuge Yun block the enemy. "How many of you come here?" Qinghu hastily shouted, asking the others to take the place of Zhuge Yun. "Qinghu, my inner strength is almost depleted." Zhuge Yun's facial expression turned ugly. "I'm afraid the other martial brothers are the same." Inner strength. Qinghu's facial expression also changed. He had drunk the scarlet fruit wine, and with his great strength, he had the strength of 10,000 jin. Even if he didn't use his inner strength, he could still continue fighting. However, the other soldiers couldn't. Not many people in the Gue Yuan sect had drunk the scarlet fruit wine. Since everyone's inner strength was depleted, their fighting power would naturally decrease. Puchi, Puchi. Qinghu's gaze swept across the battlefield. In the beginning, the many brothers of the Gue Yuan sect relied on their abundant inner strength and cooperated with each other, killing the enemies one by one. However, as time passed, more and more Gue Yuan sect men died. Only the experts at the peak of the post-luminary realm could last longer. Old Yi. Qinghu couldn't help but feel pain in his heart when he saw his brothers die. "Kill! Kill!" Another loud battle cry sounded. Soldiers wearing black heavy armor with dragon patterns could be seen rushing up from the stairs of the city wall. "This is Qinghu, Zhuge Yun," and the others were shocked. This group of soldiers wearing black heavy armor with dragon patterns moved nimbly and cooperated with each other. They easily killed the enemies one by one and forced them to retreat. Even the silver dragon soldiers were easily killed by these soldiers with dragon patterns. They were not on the same level. How could our Gue Yuan sect have such a powerful army? Zhuge Yun was shocked. Yeah, Qinghu was also stunned. They could see that every one of these soldiers had the strength of the peak of the post-luminary realm. They were all first-rated warriors. In the whole of Yangzhou, only Qinghu Island's Golden Scale Guards were an army completely made up of first-rated warriors. The Golden Scale Guards were an elite army that was much stronger than the Silver Dragon soldiers. In normal battles, Qinghu Island would only need to send a few hundred Golden Scale Guards to achieve great results. However, now, the Gue Yuan sect also had an army completely made up of first-rated warriors. Moreover, the number of first-rated warriors far surpassed that of Qinghu Island. Originally, there were only 1 to 200 first-rated warriors on the eastern city wall. But now, there were 2,000 first-rated warriors wearing heavy armor. Massacre. It was a complete massacre. Even the Silver Dragon soldiers were easily killed, let alone the ordinary soldiers of Qinghu Island. For a moment, they completely collapsed. Actually, not only did the eastern city wall have 2,000 first-rated warriors, but even the northern and western city walls had 2,000 first-rated warriors. This was the secret army of the Gue Yuan sect, the strongest army, 6,000 long gang guards. Without relying on Emptiness Realm experts, it would be impossible for Qinghu Island to destroy the Gue Yuan sect. When Zhuge Yuanhong saw that the Long Gang Guards had immediately changed the situation of the battle, he couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Actually, ever since the battle at the Great Yin Mountain, when they received the 2 jars of the elixir of the North Sea from Tung Qingshan, the Gue Yuan sect had begun to select some youths with extremely high comprehension abilities in the art of the North Sea and let them focus on the art of the spear and the art of the blade. They didn't need to spend time on the cultivation of their inner strength, so they could focus on the art of the blade and the art of the spear. This group of youths had exceptional saber techniques and spear techniques. Just last night, after learning of the danger, Zhuge Yuanhong had ordered all 6,000 of them to consume the elixir of the North Sea, immediately creating 6,000 first-rate warriors. The combination of the inner strength of the peak of the post-luminary realm, the painstakingly studied art of the spear and the art of the blade, and the 4 years of training. The appearance of the Long Gang Guards was shocking. Now it's all up to Qingshan. Zhuge Yuanhong looked down and said, "If Qingshan loses and can't stop the Blind Sword Master, it'll be useless even if we win." In the end, it all depended on the 2 Emptiness Realm experts. Below the city wall, The battle between Tung Qingshan and the blind sword master caused a burst of the power of the heavens and the earth, causing a great number of soldiers to suffer. This Jing Yi is too despicable. The blind swordmaster's heart was burning with anger. He said with the use of his sound transmission technique, Jing Yi, if you have the ability, let's fight. Don't always sneak attack, Gu Yong. Sneak attacking a junior is nothing. Sneak attack? You gave the order to attack the city and destroy the Gui Yuan sect. Can't I just kill one person of Qing, Hu Island? Tung Qingshan was extremely crazy. His figure strangely approached the blind sword master. It was difficult for the blind sword master to distance himself from Tung Qingshan. The blind sword master held his breath as he continuously attacked with his axe. Disadvantaged. That's right. Even if the blind sword master didn't want to admit it, the truth was that he was disadvantaged. He had to protect Gu Yong with one hand, and his movements were restricted because he was protecting Gu Yong. Therefore, he could only exert 80% of his strength. The blind sword master was furious. You, Jing Yi, have an unfair advantage. Gu Yong, go to the side. The blind sword master pushed forcefully, and a gust of the power of the heavens and the earth enveloped Gu Yong. Gu Yong streaked across the sky like a beam of light. Jing Yi died. The blind sword master, who finally had his hands free, roared angrily. As he spoke, the thin iron rod in his hand instantly transformed into streaks of black light and stabbed towards Tung Qingshan. The black light was so numerous and so fast that Tung Qingshan couldn't dodge it all. Ha, old thing, are you crazy? Can't you hold it in anymore? Tung Qingshan laughed loudly as he brandished the splitting mountain axe in his hand. The surface of the splitting mountain axe was like a small shield. It was much easier to defend than using a sword or a saber. The 36 splitting mountain forms wasn't just about attacking. Phew. As the splitting mountain axe was brandished, layers of axe shadows surrounded Tung Qingshan, shielding Tung Qingshan. For a moment, Tung Qingshan seemed to have transformed into an egg. Clang, clang, clang. The streaks of black light were all blocked by the splitting mountain axe. None of them injured Tung Qingshan. How is this possible? How can his defensive technique be so exquisite? The blind sword master was completely stunned. Whoosh! Tung Qingshan, who had transformed into an egg, twisted his body and transformed into a beam of light as he dashed towards Gu Yong. How despicable! The blind sword master dashed out almost at the same time. Despicable? Old thing, I'll show you how despicable I am. As Tung Qingshan's beam of light was slightly ahead of the blind sword master, he was 1 or 2 zhang ahead. The two of them were dashing towards Gu Yong. P.S. This is the 4th chapter. Let's continue to write the 5th chapter. There's only half an hour left until 12 o'clock. Everyone, hurry up and cast your monthly votes. Chapter 479. Gu Yong, quick, flee to the north. The blind sword master hastily sent a sound transmission to Gu Yong. Tung Qingshan was 2 zhang in front of the blind sword master. If Gu Yong ran recklessly, Tung Qingshan's axe would land on Gu Yong's body. Although Gu Yong was protected by the godly armor, his face was exposed under the helmet. With Tung Qingshan's skills, his axe would definitely land on Gu Yong's face. The blind sword master was north of Tung Qingshan. If Gu Yong ran north, he would be able to shorten the distance between him and the blind sword master. Yes, martial ancestor. Gu Yong remained calm in the face of danger. He instantly determined the best direction and flew slightly to the west of the blind sword master. However, he had only flown about 10 zhang when 2 beams of light descended at the same time. Old bastard, you are so cunning. Tung Qingshan was so angry that his eyebrows twitched. The moment Gu Yong ran, Tung Qingshan lost his advantage. However, can your running speed match the speed of my axe's light? Tung Qingshan was about 10 zhang away from Gu Yong. Swish! Without mercy, Tung Qingshan fiercely swung his axe. A semicircular beam of light from the axe rapidly enveloped Gu Yong. The blind swordmaster's facial expression changed drastically. He instinctively thrust his rod forward. A black ray of light pierced through the beam of light from the axe. The beam of light from the axe shattered, but it still enveloped Gu Yong. While running, Gu Yong lowered his head and placed his arms in front of his face. Bang! 7 or 8 beams of light from the axe landed on Gu Yong's body. Gu Yong was sent flying like a sandbag. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Swoosh! The blind swordmaster carried Gu Yong and immediately rose into the air, hovering in midair. "Are you all right?" the blind swordmaster asked. "I'm fine. Fortunately, I have the godly armor." Gu Yong heaved a sigh of relief. His face was pale as he hovered in midair with the blind swordmaster. He looked at the godly armor on his body in astonishment and said, "Martial ancestor, this godly armor is indeed powerful. Jing Yi's attack didn't even leave a mark on it. I only suffered some minor injuries." Although the force of impact was great, Gu Yong was also a Golden Dan innate expert. With his true origin protecting his body, it would be good if the force of impact that was weakened by the godly armor could injure him. As Tung Ching Shan stood on the ground, a great number of Qinghu Island soldiers didn't dare to approach him. Tung Ching Shan raised his head and stared at the blind swordmaster, who was hovering in midair. He shouted angrily, "Tai Wu, are you so scared that you don't dare to come down?" His voice was like thunder. Even the surrounding soldiers of Qinghu Island covered their ears in pain. "Umph." The blind swordmaster ignored Tung Ching Shan. Gu Yong actually didn't die. However, Tung Ching Shan's gaze fell upon Gu Yong. Even if the blind swordmaster managed to break my external axe light with a strike from the blind swordmaster, it is still not something that a Golden Dan innate expert can withstand. Even 10 Golden Dan innate experts would be finished. What attracted Tung Ching Shan's attention the most was Gu Yong's silver armor. There isn't even a scratch on it. Even the attack of an emptiness realm expert couldn't leave a scratch on it. Tung Ching Shan's eyesight was extremely good. Even though Gu Yong was 200 zhong high up in the sky, Tung Ching Shan could still see it clearly. What armor is this? Tung Ching Shan had never seen this kind of armor before. He also understood that Gu Yong didn't die because of this armor. Tung Ching Shan turned his head to take a glance and smiled. At this moment, the army of the Gui Yuan sect was firmly guarding the walls of Jiangning County City. As for the army of Qinghu Island, they had already retreated from the top of the city wall and stopped fighting temporarily. Actually, they had no choice but to stop fighting. The Long Gang guards of the Gui Yuan sect were equivalent to the Golden Scale guards of Qinghu Island. Moreover, the number of Long Gang guards was even greater. Attacking the city was equivalent to courting death. The three armies naturally chose to stop fighting temporarily. Since he wasn't worried about the Gui Yuan sect, Tung Ching Shan focused his attention on the armor on Gu Yong's body. "What kind of armor is this?" "Tai Wu, I didn't expect you to let Gu Yong wear this armor instead of wearing it. You really value him," Tung Ching Shan said with the use of the sound transmission technique. In midair, the black-clothed blind man sneered and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, "Why? Are you jealous? I'm afraid that even the Heavenly God Palace can only offer 1 or 2 sets of godly armor. You don't have the qualifications to get one, do you?" "Godly armor?" Tung Ching Shan deduced from the blind swordmaster's words. Godly armor was very rare. According to the blind swordmaster, the powerful Heavenly God Palace probably only had 1 or 2 sets of godly armor. Actually, the blind swordmaster thought that since Tung Ching Shan was from the Heavenly God Palace, he would definitely know about godly armor. Therefore, he didn't keep it a secret during the conversation. "Where did Qinghu Island get this godly armor?" Tung Ching Shan asked with the use of the sound transmission technique. It's fine as long as it's not from the Heavenly God Palace." In midair, the blind swordmaster had no time to waste with Tung Ching Shan. He was observing the army of the Gui Yuan sect and the army of Qinghu Island. At the same time, he was also talking with the use of the sound transmission technique As long as the general spoke, the blind sword master would be able to hear him even though he was 10 li away. When the blind sword master heard the report from the two generals, he couldn't help but feel shocked. Such a powerful army? Does the Gui Yuan sect have such a powerful army? No, it should be the Heavenly God Palace. Only a terrifying sect like the Heavenly God Palace could nurture such elites and such a large army. It's just as I thought. The Heavenly God Palace had planned this beforehand. They had already sent an elite army to Jiangning County City. If the Heavenly God Palace really attacked Yangzhou, the Heavenly God Palace would attack from both inside and outside. Yangzhou would be conquered by the Heavenly God Palace, the blind sword master deduced. He didn't think that the Gui Yuan sect, which only ruled over one county, could have so many first-rated warriors. Since Ting Qingshan was in midair, he couldn't fly at all. However, the blind sword master couldn't kill Zhuge Yuanhong and the others either, because an emptiness realm expert could jump over 100 zhang high, but the city walls of Jiangning County City were only a little higher. Therefore, if the blind sword master descended to a height of 10 zhang, Tung Qingshan would be able to jump and attack him in midair. Once Tung Qingshan restrained him, the blind sword master would have a headache. With Gu Yong protecting him, the blind sword master couldn't fight Tung Qingshan wholeheartedly. Retreat. The blind sword master's face darkened as he ordered with the use of the sound transmission technique. Immediately, when the two generals within the range of the domain received the order, they couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. The armies under the eastern and northern city walls began to retreat. Soon after, the armies under the western city walls of Qinghu Island also retreated after receiving the news. Looking at Tung Qingshan below, the blind sword master humphed with the use of the sound transmission technique. Humph, Jing-yi, you are lucky today. Let's go. The blind sword master immediately flew away with Gu Yong. Only Gu Yong and the blind sword master could be seen amidst the clouds and mist. Martial Ancestor. Jing-yi is so powerful that even Martial Ancestor couldn't kill him. Gu Yong had seen how the blind sword master had attacked Jing-yi after throwing him into the air. However, the blind sword master hadn't been able to kill Jing-yi. Of course he's not my match. The blind sword master said confidently, "Today, I have to protect you. Therefore, I can't use my full strength. As for, I threw you into the air and attacked Jing-yi. My attacking technique was wrong. I used my fastest technique, which is also the technique I'm best at. If he couldn't block it, he would definitely die. However, his defensive technique is even more exquisite than mine." The blind sword master sighed. Therefore, it's useless to compare the exquisiteness of techniques and speed. To kill him, I don't need exquisite techniques. I only need to attack him with my strongest attack. I will gather all the power of the heavens and earth in my sword. If I use force to suppress him, even if he could block it, he would definitely reveal an opening. Then, I can seize the opportunity to kill him, the blind sword master said. In the past, the blind sword master didn't like using force to suppress others because he was an expert in sword arts. However, who would have thought that he would encounter Tung Qingshan, whose techniques were even more exquisite than his? Actually, the blind sword master couldn't be blamed. No matter how powerful the blind sword master was, how could he be compared to Emperor Yu, who had created the 36 splitting mountain forms? Unfortunately, you are beside me this time. I don't dare to take the risk again, the blind sword master said. The blind sword master carried Gu Yong and transformed into a beam of flowing light, flying towards Qinghu Island. On the city walls of Jiangning County City, a large number of soldiers and disciples of the Gui Yuan sect were busy treating the injured and moving the corpses. Most of them had expressions of excitement on their faces, as if they had just survived a disaster. The Gui Yuan sect had once again won against Qinghu Island, one of the 8 supreme sects. It's safe. Tung Qingshan turned and walked towards the city gates. Many disciples and soldiers of the Gui Yuan sect looked at Tung Qingshan with admiration, respect, and gratitude. They had seen the battle between the two emptiness realm experts and knew that it was because of Senior Jing Yi that the terrifying, black-clothed, blind man of Qing Hu Island could be stopped. Whoosh! With a leap, Tung Qingshan landed on the city walls like a sharp arrow. Senior Jing Yi. Immediately, the surrounding people, including Elder Yin, Elder Ni, and Zhang Feng, came forward to express their gratitude. Elder Yin was so excited that he even knelt down. It's okay, it's okay. Tung Qingshan hastily helped Elder Yin up. This was what Tung Qingshan was supposed to do. This was because he was a member of the Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong, who was standing at the side, smiled as he watched Tung Qingshan. He could vaguely remember when Tung Qingshan first joined the Gui Yuan sect during the entrance examination and fought with Yu Song, the disciple of the Zhangjiang Sword Saint. At that time, Zhuge Yuanhong had determined that Tung Qingshan had a bright future. A bright future indeed. Zhuge Yuanhong sighed and said, "The Heavenly Eye Sword Saint is rumored to be an emptiness realm culmination expert." At this moment, little Yun, a beautiful figure, appeared on the city walls. She was carrying a pair of children as she ran rapidly towards Zhuge Yun. Tung Qingshan looked at the familiar figure. His sister, Qingyu. Zhuge Yun, who had already taken off his armor and was bandaged, immediately ran over. His eyes brightened as he was pale. "Father, father." A childish voice came from the mouths of the two children in Qingyu's arms. Qingyu's eyes were red and swollen. She looked at the bloodstains on the white cloth that Zhuge Yun had bandaged and was about to cry. "Little Yin, it's okay, it's okay. It's all over." Zhuge Yun, who was also carrying a child, had tears in his eyes. To be able to see Qingyu, to be able to see the children. Even if I become a cripple, I am willing. At the side, Tung Qingshan silently looked at his beloved sister. He suddenly felt that his efforts were all worth it. As long as he could see his sister's happy smile, as long as he could see the cheerful smiles of his clansmen, it was all worth it. Suddenly, a hand was placed on Tung Qingshan's shoulder. Tung Qingshan turned his head and saw Zhuge Yuanhong. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled at him and said, "Everything is over. The Gui Yuan sect is safe. Everything is fine now." "Yes, everything is fine now." Tung Qingshan nodded and smiled. Suddenly, he felt something and looked up at the sky. A beam of sword light pierced through the sky and shot towards Tung Qingshan. "Senior Jing Yi, be careful." Elder Ni was the first to exclaim. They all knew that emptiness realm experts who could fly were existences at the peak of the emptiness realm. "It's okay." Tung Qingshan smiled as he walked over. The beam of sword light landed in front of Tung Qingshan and transformed into a figure. It was the sovereign of the sword sect, who was dressed in a black cloak and had white brows. "Brother Hua, what happened? Where are the men of Qing Hu Island?" He was slightly confused. Payson had ordered him to chase away the army of Qing Hu Island and protect the Gui Yuan sect. "Brotherly, the men of Qing Hu Island have left," Tung Qingshan said with a smile. "The 5th chapter is over." "Ho, Tomato is hungry from writing so much." "Ha, yes, I would like to request for monthly votes. It's already March now, and I ranked 2nd last month. This month, I must increase my monthly votes. I hope everyone will support Tomato and vote for Tomato." Voting method. Click Recommend Author for monthly votes below. Click twice whether you have a vote or not. Once you click, your luck will become better. Chapter 480. Gone. The black-cloaked, white-browed man scanned the surroundings. The city walls were covered with bloodstains, and there were also many holes left by blades and spears. Below the city walls, there were a large number of corpses. It was obvious that Jiangning County City had just suffered a calamity. He couldn't help but feel shocked. It is said that the blind sword master, Tai Wu, has already reached the culmination of the emptiness realm. He is considered a top-notch expert among those who have reached the culmination of the emptiness realm. He actually returned empty-handed? "This Hua sect leader Zhuge, this is my good friend who came all the way here." Tung Qingshan looked at Zhuge Yuanhong and said with a smile, I'll go back to my place to entertain him. All right. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and nodded. However, Senior Jing, you must come to the celebratory feast. Tung Qingshan felt slightly awkward when his teacher addressed him as Senior Jing Yi. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Senior Jing Yi, it's all thanks to you this time. Elder Elder Yin, and the others looked at Tung Qingshan with respect and gratitude. Of course, they were grateful to the emptiness realm expert. Tung Qingshan could only smile and quickly left the city wall with the black-robed, white-browed man. Gue Yuan's sect, Elder Wu's residence. Two streams of light landed in the mansion and turned into two people. One was the white-robed Tung Qingshan, and the other was the black-robed sword sect leader, Li Chao. Brother Li, please have a seat. Tung Qingshan led Li Chao to a pavilion not far away. This time, I've troubled Brother Li to come all the way here. The sovereign of the sword sect, who had always been indifferent, laughed heartily at this moment. Brother Hu, stop teasing me. This time, the Gue Yuan sect was able to drive away Qinghu Island. Although I came all the way here, it was useless. No wonder Brother Hu dared to use the name Jing to provoke the blind sword master, Tai Wu. It turns out that you are bold because you are skilled. When Li Chao, the sovereign of the sword sect, learned that Tung Qingshan was able to chase away the blind sword master by himself, he began to have some thoughts. Brotherly, Tung Qingshan hastily said, I only had a breakthrough before the war. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked little June to write a letter to the palace lord. Li Chao nodded. He also noticed that Tung Qingshan's aura was different from the last time he met him. However, it was difficult to judge his strength through aura alone. For example, the aura of the blind sword master was black and chaotic. However, the aura of some emptiness realm culmination experts might be multicolored. This was related to the comprehension of Tao. Some people would first comprehend 2 or 3 minor Taos, and then fuse these 2 or 3 minor Taos to comprehend a great Tao, such as the Tao of life. Aura could only vaguely determine a person's strength. Li Chao exclaimed in surprise as he asked, Brother Hu, the speed of your improvement is truly astonishing. According to what I know, when you were in the Great Prairie, you had yet to step into the emptiness realm. It has only been a few years, and I'm afraid that you're already very close to the emptiness realm culmination. Brother Li, you can see how glorious I am now, but you can't see how miserable I was before I broke through. Tung Qingshan smiled and shook his head. Because I don't have a master, I made a huge mistake when I broke through to the emptiness realm. Grave mistake. Li Chao was startled. Yes. Tung Qingshan nodded and said, I didn't focus on one Tao. I cultivated several Taos at the same time. Sometimes I cultivated one Tao, and sometimes I cultivated that Tao. Li Chao said, You shouldn't have done that. A human's lifespan is limited, but Tao is endless. If you split your energy to cultivate several Taos at the same time, I'm afraid that you won't even be able to complete one Tao by the time you reach the end of your lifespan. I don't have a master and no one to teach me. Tung Qingshan smiled and shook his head. I cultivated blindly by myself. During the days when I was out at sea, I was completely focused on cultivating. I didn't even know what realm I had to reach before I could step into the emptiness realm. Hard work pays off, and I finally achieved culmination in one Tao. After achieving culmination in one Tao, I realized that I had taken a detour in the past. If I had focused on one Tao, I would have saved at least 10 years of time, Tung Qingshan said. Yes. Li Chao nodded in agreement. However, he didn't know that Tung Qingshan was lying. Tung Qingshan continued, However, there are gains and losses. My other Taos are all close to achieving breakthroughs. After I achieved one Tao, I quickly achieved a breakthrough in the second Tao. This time, before the battle with Blind Tai, I coincidentally achieved a breakthrough and comprehended another Tao. Fortunately, Blind Tai brought Guiyong with him. Guiyong has the highest chance of reaching the emptiness realm in Qinghu Island. Blind Tai only has 20 years to live. To him, Guiyong's life is more important than the destruction of the Gui Yuan sect. Therefore, when he fought with me, he had to take care of Guiyong. Oh, I understand. Li Chao suddenly understood. He had been very surprised. After all, the blind sword master was a famous emptiness realm culmination expert. How could this foreign dignitary Huha be chased away so quickly? So it was because of Guiyong. The Heavenly God Palace had a plan to attack Yangzhou. Of course, they knew Qinghu Island very well. They knew what Guiyong meant to Qinghu Island. Since it's over, I won't disturb you anymore. Li Chao stood up. Brother Li, sorry for troubling you this time. Tung Qingshan also stood up. Li Chao laughed. What trouble? It's no trouble at all. When the Heavenly God Palace destroys Hongtian City, I will have a lot of free time. You can look for me sometimes. You have a wife who acts as the High Priestess. She knows very well when and where I live. Moreover, my teacher also wants to meet you. When the time comes, you can meet my teacher as well, Li Chao said. The sovereign. Tung Qingshan was shocked. Although Tung Qingshan had never met the terrifying person who founded the Heavenly God Palace, he was still very afraid of him. In just a few hundred years, the sovereign had created a foundation that was not inferior to the Mani Temple. In Tung Qingshan's opinion, the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace was probably ranked first in the land of the 9 prefectures and the Duanmu continent. Yes, I must meet him when the time comes. I also admire the sovereign very much, Tung Qingshan said with a smile. Ha! Li Chao laughed and cupped his hands. He then transformed into a streak of sword light and flew towards the north. The celebration feast that day lasted from afternoon until late at night. It was obvious that many people were very excited after surviving the calamity. Although many soldiers and disciples of the Gui Yuan sect had died this time, it was not a serious blow to the Gui Yuan sect. This was the best result they could have gotten. On the morning of the next day, Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Qingshan walked on the streets of Jiangning County City. Tung Qingshan froze the space around them so that no sound could be heard. Are you going to meet your parents? Zhuge Yuanhong laughed. Yes, I really want to meet them. Tung Qingshan nodded. Are you ready to say something? Zhuge Yuanhong asked. No matter what, in Zhuge Yuanhong's opinion, Tung Qingshan could not reveal his identity yet. Actually, in Zhuge Yuanhong's opinion, it would be best for Tung Qingshan to reach the culmination of the emptiness realm and obtain the godly beast, the undying phoenix. That would be the best time to reveal his identity. Calm them down, Tung Qingshan nodded and said. They haven't heard from me for the past few years, and they have been very anxious and upset. Last night, Tung Qingshan had been secretly observing his parents. He could see that his parents were sad for him. After all, he had been away from home for more than 4 years, and there was no news at all. How could his parents not be worried? At the location of the Tung clan, the Gui Yuan sect held a celebration feast last night. The Tung clan also held a celebration feast last night. After all, the Tung clan did not need to hide or flee. During the celebration feast last night, Tung Yongfan and his wife naturally came back to stay. They also had a place to stay in the Gui Yuan sect. Sovereign. As soon as they entered the sovereign hall, many young men and women of the Tung clan nervously bowed to Zhuge Yuanhong respectfully. Hee. Zhuge Yuanhong greeted with a smile. However, it was not strange that the clansmen on the way to the clan mansion did not recognize Tung Qingshan as Jing Yi. There were very few people in the Tung clan who joined the army of the Gui Yuan sect. That day, only Tung Qinghu and a few others saw Tung Qingshan fight against the blind sword master, Brother Yongfan. Standing outside a house, Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and called out. Creak! The courtyard door opened. It was Yuan Lan. Ah, it's the sovereign. Please come in. Please come in. Yuan Lan smiled and shouted. Brother Fan, the sovereign is here. Oh, the sovereign? Tung Yongfan rolled a wheel with his hands and entered the courtyard. When Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan saw Tung Qingshan standing beside Zhuge Yuanhong, they were puzzled. Tung Qingshan's appearance was different from when Tung Qingshan first returned to the Gui Yuan sect. He had the appearance of Jing Yi, so the two of them did not recognize him. However, they felt that the mysterious young man before them had an aura that made them feel close to him. "This is?" Tung Yongfan asked with a smile. "You are Brother Qingshan's father and mother, right?" Tung Qingshan said, while suppressing his excitement. "Yes, yes." Yuan Lan immediately became excited. Even Tung Yongfan rolled his wheelchair closer. "You know our Qingshan? How is Qingshan?" Tung Yongfan was fine, but Yuan Lan's eyes were filled with tears. There was no news of her son outside. As his mother, she was worried and expectant every night. Looking at his parents, who had silver strands in their hair, Tung Qingshan's emotions became unstable. He suppressed his excitement and said, "My parents, yes, I know Qingshan. I have seen him before." "Really? How is Qingshan now?" Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan were so excited that their faces turned red. "He is doing well." Tung Qingshan nodded and said, "He is currently cultivating on a peaceful island overseas. He also asked me to tell my parents that Qingshan is doing well when I come to the land of the 9 prefectures. He hopes that my parents can take good care of themselves." Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan's tears immediately flowed down. "That's great. My God, Qingshan is fine. He is fine." Yuan Lan's tears flowed down uncontrollably. "Why are you crying? The child is fine. Why are you crying?" Tung Yongfan shouted. Suddenly, Tung Yongfan was stunned. He looked at Tung Qingshan hesitantly and asked, "Is Qingshan really on an island overseas? You are not lying to us, right?" Tung Qingshan nodded and said, "Qingshan also told me about a fist technique he created. He said that if I practice this fist technique, you will believe him." With this, Tung Qingshan immediately took 2 steps back and performed the tiger fist. This was the fist technique Tung Qingshan gave to the Tang clan. Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan were so excited that they couldn't control themselves when they saw this fist technique. Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan stayed in Tung Qingshan for 2 hours. Then, Tung Qingshan couldn't stay any longer. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control his emotions, so he left the courtyard. "Qingshan." Zhuge Yuanhong looked at Tung Qingshan. "I am fine." Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong walked side by side. "Teacher, I'm going to accept a batch of disciples." "Eh?" Zhuge Yuanhong was stunned. He immediately smiled and said, "This is good news. Tell me, what are the requirements? Do they have inner strength? How old are they?" "They don't need inner strength. They need to be youths under the age of 10 who have no flaws in their muscles and bones," Tung Qingshan said. "They don't need inner strength?" Zhuge Yuanhong heaved a sigh of relief. "There are many youths like this." "Help me find 1,000, Tung Qingshan said. Tung Qingshan believed that even if he faced the blind sword master, he would be able to protect himself with the 36 splitting mountain forms. Therefore, the development of the branch of internal martial arts was about to begin. Chapter 481. Ha! Qingshan, in this world, there are countless youths who want to learn inner strength. Moreover, you, an emptiness realm expert, will be the one to teach them. It's hard to even ask for it. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, "Don't worry. Not to mention 1,000, even 5,000 would be a piece of cake. 1,000 is enough. I'm afraid that most of these 1,000 will be eliminated in 3 months," Tung Qingshan said with a smile. The cultivation of internal martial art had extremely high requirements for aptitude and comprehension. Although the land of the 9 prefectures was filled with the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth, and was more suitable for cultivation compared to the world of Tung Qingshan's previous life. Even so, it would be considered good if 100 out of 1,000 people were suitable for internal martial art. Moreover, only Tung Qingshan and his eldest disciple, Tung Shou, could teach internal martial art. If there were too many disciples, it would be impossible to teach them. "Yes, it's good to be strict," Zhuge Yuanhong suddenly said solemnly. "Qingshan, don't tell your parents too much in the future." Actually, Tung Qingshan took the initiative to tell his parents that their son was still well. Although Zhuge Yuanhong understood, he still felt slightly uneasy. Previously, when he was at Tung Qingshan's residence, Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Yongfan had repeatedly reminded him to think of their son, Tung Qingshan, and not to tell his parents about this. I will feel better if my parents are at ease. Tung Qingshan sighed inwardly. Whenever he thought of his parents' tears, he felt guilty. Let's not talk about this. Tung Qingshan squeezed out a smile. Senior Jing Yi. Suddenly, a surprised voice sounded. Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong looked up and saw Tang Qinghu walking over. Sovereign, Senior Jing Yi. Tung Qinghu welcomed them warmly. Tung Qingshan smiled and nodded. Tung Qinghu, right? We met on the city wall. These words caused Qinghu to feel excited. This was an emptiness realm expert. Tung Qingshan then pointed to a young man who was carrying a heavy stone weight not far away and said, Tung Qinghu, ask that little guy to come over. Okay. Tung Qinghu roared in that direction. Little monkey, come here. Second uncle. The young man hurriedly ran over. Clearly, he worshipped Tung Qinghu very much. He obediently stood to the side. Tung Qinghu pointed at Zhuge Yuanhong and Tung Qingshan and said, Little monkey, these two are great seniors. Hong Ho pays his respects to the two lords. The young man bowed respectfully. Tung Qingshan smiled. In the Tung Jia village, Tung Qingshan's grandfather was of the Yun generation, while his father was of the Yong generation. Tung Qingshan and the others were of the Qing generation. The young man before him was one generation younger than Tung Qingshan. He was of the Hong generation. Little Hong Ho, learn from me. Do a few movements. As Tung Qingshan spoke, he lifted his right leg to the side and placed his hand behind his back. He then stood firmly on one leg and said, Maintain this for 10 breaths. Easy. Tung Hong Ho also learned this movement. Do this one. Tung Qingshan casually made 6 movements, and Hong Ho learned the 6 movements effortlessly. Very good. How old are you? Tung Qingshan asked with a smile. 11 years old, Hong Ho answered. Tung Qinghu, help me ask his parents. If his parents are willing, this little guy will learn martial arts from me. I'll bring him along. I will take him with me, Tung Qingshan said with a faint smile. Although he had told his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, that he wanted to learn martial arts from 10 years old and below, the internal martial arts did not pay much attention to this. In the history of Tung Qingshan's previous life, there were many people who started cultivating at the age of 15 or 16 and eventually became grandmasters. For example, Tung Qingshan's third disciple, Xue Xan, was even older. I agree. I definitely agree. His father is not stupid. If Senior can teach him, this is a good thing that he cannot even beg for. Tung Qinghu was very excited. He had seen the earth-shattering battle at the foot of the city wall. Even he himself wanted to become Tung Qingshan's disciple. Tung Qingshan nodded with a smile and said, Stay at home first. In 2 days, the Gue Yuan sect will take him away. Then, Tung Qingshan and Zhuge Yuanhong left together. On the street, Teacher, I saw it. I did 6 movements. Tung Qingshan said, These 6 movements can be easily done as long as one has muscles and bones and is trained since young. Teacher, when you help me recruit 1,000 youths, follow this. If they can do 6 movements well, they will be accepted. These movements are not difficult. In this chaotic world, which child doesn't practice since young? Most of them can do it. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded. I will immediately arrange for people to start recruiting youths. However, because we have to test the 6 movements one by one, we have to do it slowly. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a smile, We should be able to recruit all of them in 3 days. On the second day, the first day of April, the Gue Yuan sect officially started recruiting youths who were 10 years old and below. Within the Gue Yuan sect, some of the elders, protectors, and the others found out that it was Senior Jing Yi who wanted to recruit these youths. They were so excited that they brought their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, as long as their age matched, to participate in the assessment. As for the entire Jiangning County city and the surrounding villages, when they heard about this announcement, they immediately sent their children over, especially when they knew that they would not accept money. On the first day, 300 children were recruited. On the second day, especially for those who received the news late, such as the villagers and some ordinary families in Jiangning County City, most of them only sent their children over on the second day. Therefore, the recruitment on the second day was especially great. On the afternoon of the second day, all 1,000 children were recruited. On the third day of April, the Gui Yuan sect sent a troop of 1,000 soldiers to escort these children to East City in Jiangning County City. The Gui Yuan sect was also very reassured about the safety of these children because Tung Qingshan was also heading to East City with these children. Senior, will the children be able to endure such a long journey? The Chiliarch of the troop of 1,000 soldiers asked respectfully, I'm afraid they won't be able to move. Just follow this speed and do what I told you before. Tung Qingshan ordered. At the same time, pass down the order. Those who can't endure until East City will be directly sent home. Yes, the Chiliarch was very respectful. Tung Qingshan looked at this group of children. The cultivation of internal martial art required much more perseverance than the cultivation of inner strength. To cultivate inner strength, one only needed to sit cross-legged and immerse himself in cultivation for a few hours. However, to cultivate internal martial art, without a certain realm, cultivating internal martial art was very boring. Only when one reached an extremely high realm would one be able to enjoy boxing. The 300-li journey can be considered as the first trial for these children. I don't know how many of these 1,000 children will be eliminated in the 300-li journey. Tung Qingshan also walked with the children. On the 300-li journey, these children all carried small bags. Although their physical qualities were good, according to the speed set by Tung Qingshan, it was very strenuous for the children. On the first day, many children cried that they couldn't endure. However, after the officer announced that anyone who didn't want to walk would be sent home, all the children clenched their teeth and persevered. After all, if they were eliminated like this, they would definitely be scolded by their families. However, on the second day, 13 children couldn't take it anymore. They collapsed and cried and gave up. On the third day, a total of 56 children cried and gave up. On the fourth day, 11 children gave up. On the fifth day, 6 children gave up. On the sixth day, at noon, they arrived at East City. When they arrived at the super-large mansion specially arranged by the Gui Yuan sect, many children cried on the spot. On the sixth day, during the last half of the journey, none of the children gave up. In other words, during the 5.5 days of traveling, 86 children gave up. Out of the 1,000 children, only 914 children were left. It's better than I expected. Tung Qingshan nodded to himself and thought to himself, 5.5 days. We have traveled a little more than 300 li. It should be known that the official road was not very smooth. Traveling for 5.5 days was a form of torture to many children. However, to some of the children, it was very easy. Many of the children in the countryside had trained since they were young. It was not difficult for them to travel 100 li in a day. On the 8th day of the 4th month, all 914 children settled down. On that day, they were allowed to have a good rest and were not given any tasks. As for Tung Qingshan, he rode on the 6-legged blade-like Qi and brought his eldest disciple, Tung Shou, back from the Taiyang mountain range. With the current status of the Xiong Shou gang in the Tai mountain range, with the strength of Yang Dong, Shui Xian, and the members of the Xiong Shou gang, the Xiong Shou gang had already gained a firm foothold. There was no need for Tung Shou, an expert of the Supreme Force, to act. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the 914 children stood ramrod straight on a huge training field that had been purposely flattened out in this super-large mansion. Not far away, the guards and servants, specially arranged by the Gui Yuan sect, were smiling at the group of children. Tung Shou, who was dressed in animal skin, stood in front of the over 900 children. Tung Shou's gaze terrified the children. Teacher. Tung Shou turned and looked into the distance. He saw Tung Qingshan appear at the entrance of the courtyard. However, in the blink of an eye, Tang Qingshan disappeared from the entrance of the courtyard and appeared beside Ting Shou, who was 100 zhang away. Wow! Oh my God! There's a deity! Some of the children couldn't help but cry out in surprise as they widened their eyes. Even the guards and servants arranged by the Gui Yuan sect were stunned. Tang Qingshan looked at the shocked faces of the group of children and couldn't help but smile. Actually, many teachers would show their strength at the beginning so that their disciples would cultivate diligently. Many people want to come and learn martial arts. Tang Qingshan's voice wasn't loud, but it echoed in the ears of every child present. However, only 1,000 people in the Gui Yuan sect will have the opportunity to come. However, during the journey, 86 people will lose this opportunity. You have a total of 914 people. However, among the 914 of you, 800 people, or even more, will all be eliminated and sent home. Tang Qingshan said coldly. The youngest of these children was 6 years old, and the oldest was 11 years old. They were already sensible. When they heard that 800 or more people would be eliminated, they were all frightened. However, as long as you can persist until the end, you will all become amazing experts. Tang Qingshan suddenly stamped his foot. Rumble! The entire ground shook, causing the over 900 children to cry out in fear. Many of them even fell down. Under Tang Qingshan's feet, a ferocious and deep trench that was tens of zhang long appeared. Under Tang Qingshan's control, this crack in the ground didn't extend to the area where the children were. Wow! This is... The group of children stared at the huge trench in shock. Even if an ordinary person dug a trench, it would take a long time to dig it. The strength of a stomp? Not to mention the children, even the guards and servants in the distance were stunned. As long as you cultivate diligently, you will have the opportunity to do so. Tang Qingshan looked at Tang Shou beside him and said, "From now on, you will all learn from my eldest disciple, Tang Shou." Tang Shou took a step forward with a cold look in his eyes. That day, Tang Shou had only punched the pile of useless rockery a few times, causing all the children to look at Tang Shou with admiration. Some of the rocks on the rockery weighed over 10,000 jin, and he had smashed them into pieces with just a few punches. They had never seen such a powerful person. According to Tang Qingshan's instructions, Tang Shou only taught them one move, the 3 postures. He carefully taught the key points of the 3 postures and how to breathe. According to Tang Qingshan's words, "Shou, the 3 postures are the foundation of my internal martial arts. Even you have to practice it frequently. Don't look down on teaching the children the 3 postures. During the teaching process, you will naturally review the old and learn the new, and you'll have new insights. You must know that teaching is also a form of cultivation." Hearing these words, Tang Shou became even more serious in teaching the children. The best thing about the eldest disciple, Tang Shou, was that he was obedient to his teacher. As long as it was a task that Tang Qingshan gave him, he would complete it meticulously. In the inner courtyard of this huge mansion, there was a slightly smaller training field. Normally, besides Tang Shou, Tang Qingshan forbade any guards, servants, and youths from entering. If anyone dared to enter, the youths would be immediately expelled back home. The guards and servants would also be imprisoned. From then on, no one dared to disturb Tang Qingshan. 3 months. The spiritual qi of the heavens and earth in the land of the 9 prefectures is abundant. If you're talented enough to practice the 3 postures, you should be able to produce inner strength within a month. If you're not talented enough, you should be able to produce inner strength within 2 months. Tang Qingshan set a time limit. If you don't produce inner strength within 3 months, you will be eliminated. One must know that when Tang Qingshan was only a 3-year-old child, his body had not yet matured. However, he was able to produce inner strength within a month. 1.5 months later, on the training field of the inner courtyard, the 6-legged blade-like Qi was lying at the side, staring at Tang Qingshan as he practiced his spear art. Occasionally, the six-legged blade-like chi would brandish its blade-like legs. Although the 36 splitting mountain forms is perfect for close combat, the one that suits me is the best. Tung Ching Shan combined the swimming Pisces body art and the earth-traveling art with the 36 splitting mountain forms and gradually modified them to create a set of body arts that suited him. Although it was not as perfect as the one created by Emperor Yu, Tung Ching Shan felt more comfortable using it. Chi. The reincarnation spear sometimes transformed into pear blossoms, sometimes transformed into a long dragon that soared into the sky, and sometimes it was like an enormous electric drill that tore apart the heavens and the earth. The terrifying whistling sound even frightened the group of youths on the training field of the outer courtyard. Awesome. With the combination of body arts and spear arts, Tung Ching Shan was like a fish in the water, yet he was also like a swift and fierce leopard. The combination of body arts and spear arts was very smooth. However, Tung Ching Shan, who was immersed in the practice of spear arts, did not realize that the six-legged blade-like chi, who was watching Tung Ching Shan practice his spear arts, was gradually no longer watching Tung Ching Shan. Instead, it was immersed in its own blade-like arts. As time passed, Tung Ching Shan practiced his spear arts carefreely. Rays of golden light gradually appeared around the six-legged blade-like chi's body. Tung Ching Shan finally woke up from his practice of spear arts. He turned his head and saw the six-legged blade-like chi emitting a dazzling golden light in the corner of the training field, as if it was a golden sun. Roar! Suddenly, the six-legged blade-like chi let out a roar that resounded through the heavens and the earth. Immediately, the boundless golden light in the heavens and the earth surged towards the six-legged blade-like chi. The boundless golden light was like a huge whirlpool in the ocean, even causing the fake mountains and the surroundings to shatter. Could it be that the six-legged blade-like chi? Tung Ching Shan's eyes brightened, and he was extremely excited. Today's chapter is over. Tomato wants to say a few words. Ever since the story of the 9 cauldrons was uploaded, the second in the monthly votes had been obtained, but the first in the monthly votes had never been obtained. Tomato's heart was burning with anger. The first in the monthly votes. Tomato really wants to be the first in the monthly votes. Tomato, to all the brothers who read Tomato's novels and support Tomato, please support Tomato. Today is the first day of the month, so everyone should have a guaranteed monthly vote. However, on the first day, you have fallen behind by quite a bit. Everyone, please support Tomato's monthly votes. Tomato needs everyone's support. In March, Tomato only has one goal: to be the first in the monthly votes. In March, Tomato's battle on the monthly votes ranking. Brothers, please support Tomato and vote for Tomato. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.